Trustee White, will you lead us in the pledge, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please, Sandy. President Lewin. Here. Trustee Michaels.
Here.
Trustee White.
Here.
Trustee Lenny. Here. Trustee Heron. Trustee Bonnie.
Here.
Trustee Shomas.
We do have a quorum this evening. Under public hearing, annexation agreement, Hannaford Farms Lot 95. This is a regular business item, I assume, Danny?
Yes.
Okay, so we've done this several times. I'd like to open the public hearing at this time. If anybody would like to speak in regards to the annexation agreement for Hannaford Farm Lot 95, this is your opportunity, and you have 3 minutes to do so. Going once, going twice, 3 times, we will close the public hearing. Can I get a motion to approve? I'm sorry, no, we're not doing that. Next, appointments and presentations. We have nothing this evening. Airport report, Mr. Special is not in town. Public comment on scheduled action items. This evening, under consent agenda, we have A, approval of the minutes of November 19th, 2024 board meeting. We have item B, approval of the vouchers. Under general business this evening, we have A, an ordinance annexation agreement, Hannaford Farms Lot 95. B, an ordinance for the tax levy for fiscal year May 1, 2025 to April 30th, 2026. Item C, an ordinance for tax levy for fiscal year May 1, 2025 to April 30th, 2026 for the Mallard Point Special Assessment Levy. Item D, a resolution declaring notice of installment, accrual of interest and adoption of special assessment supplemental bond and procedures act for Mallard Point. Item E, an ordinance, tax levy for fiscal year May 1st, 2025 to April 30th, 2026 for special service area number 10. Item F, an ordinance abating 2024 taxes related to debt service for the 2013 A bonds. And item G, an ordinance abating 2024 taxes related to debt service for the 2017 bonds. Item H, a resolution authorizing the new home fee for the Village of Sugar Grove. Item I, a resolution amending zoning, subdivision, building permits, and other charges for fiscal year 24 through 25. Item J, a resolution approving an intergovernmental agreement with the City of Aurora for transferring an emergency warning siren to the Village of Sugar Grove. Those are all our items up for action this evening. Do I have any public comments on any of those items? Going once, going twice, 3 times, we will close public comment. Any request to remove an item from consent agenda?
Item B.
Item B.
Vouchers.
Okay. Anything else? No. Can I get a motion to approve item A under the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
Okay, I have a first on Trustee White and a second on Trustee Bonnie. Roll call, please.
Trustee White.
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie.
Aye.
Trustee Michaels.
Aye.
Trustee Lenny. Aye.
Okay, motion carries 4-0. Item B, vouchers. Trustee Michaels.
Matt, what is the expense to City of Geneva for $30,000?
That's TRICOM, that's not our dispatch.
And it goes to the City of Geneva?
Geneva is the one that bills for that.
Okay. Let's see, I can pass. Okay.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the vouchers?
As stated.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please. I'm sorry, Maddie. I have a first on Trustee Bonnie, a second on Trustee Michaels. Roll call, please.
Trustee Bonnie.
Aye.
Trustee Michaels.
Aye.
Trustee White.
Aye.
Trustee Lenny. Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 4-0. First item, under general business, the ordinance for the annexation agreement amendment for Hannaford Farms Lot 95. Danny.
So the village has received the phyloid payment fee in lieu of development for lot 95, also known as 1155 Redbud Lane in Hannaford Farm. The process when these are paid, as you guys are well aware, is to amend the annexation agreement and release the lot owners from any future obligations for public improvements.
Thank you, Danny. Any discussion on item A? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve as previously stated?
Motion.
Thank you, Mike. Second? Do I have a second to approve an ordinance for annexation amendment on Hannaford Farm, Lot 95? And no second.
I believe this is a McHugh home.
I don't know.
Is this a McHugh home?
It is.
Yeah, I don't think it's a good idea for you to vote on this.
I was gonna abstain.
You're going to stay. Then I'll go ahead and, I make a motion as stated.
One, you have 3 and 1.
The annexation.
You have 5. Okay. We can move that to the next meeting. So can I get a motion to postpone until December 17th?
So
Thank you. Do I have a
Second.
second? Roll call, please, on that. Trustee White is the first, and Trustee Bonnie is the second.
Trustee White,
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie,
Aye.
Trustee Michaels,
Abstain.
Trustee Lindy. Aye.
Okay, thank you. Motion carries.
You're postponing now.
Yeah, now we're postponing. Thank you. To the 17th. Okay, up next, item B, the ordinance for the tax levy for fiscal year May 1, 2025 to April 30th, 2026.
All right, so the first item that is up is the general ordinance, the ordinance for the general tax levy for next fiscal year. Nothing has changed since the last time we announced. They have not announced our new construction numbers. Usually those are in January. So right now, we're still projecting to do the levy of a 1.73 increase just to capture new construction with a 0% on existing residential.
Wonderful. Thank you, Matt. Any questions or discussions? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve item B, the ordinance as previously stated?
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a first out of Trustee White, second out of Trustee Michaels. Roll call, please, Maddie.
Trustee White,
Aye.
Trustee Michaels,
Aye.
Trustee Lindy. Aye. Trustee Bonnie.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 4-0. Up next, item C, ordinance. Matt.
Sure. The second one is the tax levy for 2024 for the Mallard Point special assessment. This is in conjunction with that third item, the resolution and doing the installment. What this is there was a settlement back in 2012 for it, and this is collecting that amount. It's a flat dollar amount for, depending on if you're a Mallard Point or Rolling Oaks. That's collected by the village and paid directly back to the King County. So this is the collection, and then the installment is the actual payment. So
Move to approve.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
First out of Trustee White, second out of Trustee Bonnie. Roll call, please, Maddie.
Trustee White,
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie,
Aye.
Trustee Michaels.
Aye.
Trustee Lindy. Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Up next, item D, the resolution declaring notice of installment, accrual of interest and adoption of special assessment supplemental bond and procedures act for Mallard Point.
Move to approve.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Do I have any discussion? Okay, I have first out of Trustee White and second out of Trustee Bonnie. Roll call, please.
Trustee White,
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie,
Aye.
Trustee Michaels,
Aye.
Trustee Lindy. Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 4-0. Item E, the ordinance for the tax levy for fiscal year May 1 through 25 and to April 30th and 26 for the special service area number 10. Matt, this has a little bit of an explanation.
yeah, so this one we haven't, like I said back when we did it, we haven't done this since tax year 2016 actually levied. We lowered the amount of maxes 50 cents per $100 of EAV. We are levying 20 cents based on past expenses to maintain that area. So this year they will be getting a tax, but it is not what they're normally used to based on the 50 cents. So we will do this probably every year, balancing that so that we don't create that reserve balance.
Perfect.
So the anticipated expenses are $10,000 to $12,000 annually, but I don't think we do much there. Maybe every couple of years, every 4 or 5
Yeah, so
years.
this is based on the actual 3-year program that we have with NCAP for it. So that's how much we will be spending. We have a little bit of reserve left. So we'll look at that every year. This is gonna be the last year of that agreement. So when we get the new one, we'll look at that as well.
Event camps agreement.
Yes, yeah, it was a 3-year showing what the maintenance was.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
First out of trustee White, second out of trustee Bonnie. Roll call, please, Madam.
Trustee White?
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie?
Aye.
Trustee Michaels?
Aye.
Trustee Lindy? Aye.
Thank you, motion carries 4-0. Up next, item F, ordinance abating the 24 taxes related to debt service on the 2013A bonds. Matt.
So the first one is abating the taxes for the 2013 A bond, which is for the non-home rule sales tax, which is being paid for Municipal Drive. So this is abating them so they are not on the tax bills.
Any discussion? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve item F as previously stated?
Make that motion.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. I have a first out of trustee Michaels, a second out of trustee White. Roll call, please, Madam.
Trustee Michaels?
Aye.
Trustee White?
Aye.
Trustee Lindy? Aye. Trustee Bonnie?
Aye.
Thank you, motion carries 4-0. Up next, item G, the ordinance abating the 24 taxes related to debt service for the 2017 bonds.
This is the same process. This is abating those taxes so they're not on the tax bills. The 2017 bond is the refunding of a water bond.
Make that motion.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions or discussion for Matt? Hearing none, I have a first out of trustee Michaels, a second out of trustee Bonnie. Roll call, please.
Trustee Michaels?
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie?
Aye.
Trustee White?
Aye.
Trustee Lindy? Aye.
Thank you, motion carries 4-0. Up next, the resolution authorizing the new home fee for the village of Sugar Grove. Matt.
Sure, so this is back after the last meeting as well. I just copied the board report showing those discussion items. In addition, it was requested of the survey that was completed. This was done in August of 23, so that was provided of the communities that responded to us with their impact fees. I also do want to mention Elburn did not provide it initially. They do have a school district impact fee. It's not it's a 76-page document on how they calculate it. So I do have an example of that, but that's why it is not in here. It is based on their fair market value of the home and bedroom size, and then it scales based on real estate, and it's in $2,500 increments. So there's not really a flat fee that they charge for school district. It's based on a calculation that they have, and that's an agreement with the school district.
Is it an IGA?
I don't know if it's an IGA, but they said that they do have, it is approved by both the school and Auburn,
Okay.
but they didn't know when it was approved. This document says that it's at least pre-2012.
So if we factor our permit on an average of a 3,600 square foot home for our portion of that permit, and you were to compare that to the impact, because basically our school impact on that permit fee is $1,200. I believe that's what it is. What would a $3,600 home impact in our school? In Elmer?
I don't know, because it's not based on square footage, it's based on the fair market value of how the sale price of the home.
Okay.
So from looking at this, a detached 2-bedroom, single family, total fees and payments that are made on a 70,000 fair market value home is $840. That's the most. They have a real estate tax lag amount that increases based on it, but I don't know if that's something they pay. They were not able to give me a lot of information besides sending me this document.
Okay.
But there is a fee. It's not zero.
Okay. Fair enough.
And then when we looked at this, obviously we like to do a survey to see if we're in the, I guess, the realm of looking at total cost of an impact fee and total cost of our permit. When we were researching these, the needs of the villages, capital and road and all of those items are different than every other community. So we were kind of trying to do this as a whole rather than individually looking at, are we close on the school, are we close on the library, because there's different needs for every community. So that's how we looked at this on a big picture, and I just didn't have time between last meeting and this to update the August 23 to see if there were new numbers that people had approved. So, open to questions.
And so, trustee White, I'm not sure if you, just to update you a little from last board discussion, this was brought back actually for approval last meeting, and was pushed because we didn't have comparable numbers. But this is impact fees or extra permit fees for other communities. I know it's rather small, but an overall study was done by Matt in 2023. The discussion, just to update, was the regular permit fee of $17,850 as our, for a platted lot today, and bringing our permit fees down to $15,333. Staff did look at our permits and discuss our water tap-on fee, our road impact fee, our baseline of permit on the top line, representative of roughly a 3,600 square foot house. Anything larger, there's a 31 cents, I believe, per square foot that gets added to. So it simplifies the process for staff through the building department. Less room for error without all these different annexation agreements. Matt's built spreadsheets for that department as well to make it more seamless. But the discussion basically stopped and brought back to have further information from comparables from other communities. One of the trustees that is not here brought up, well, it's lovely to look at other communities. Not all communities are created equal, as Matt is drawing attention to. We all have different needs. Yorkville obviously has water infrastructure needs and things they're trying to fund. Ours is looked at holistically as to what our needs are and can they be supported with our permit fee, and staff believes yes, and that's why that permit fee is in front of you. So that's where we're at. That's the update. You're welcome.
I'd like to, we spoke with the school district in 2023, and they said at the time that they preferred impact to land cash, and they again, in speaking with them today, in the meeting I brought up and asked again, they again reiterated that impact is their preference when possible.
So any further discussion on this?
I do question this chart. Under North Aurora and Yorkville, there's fees based on per acre. So like parks under North Aurora is $90,000 to $100,000 per acre. So that would not be applied towards a single family permit. Same for Yorkville, they have under school district $101,000 per acre and a park of $101,000 per acre. So, so I question if we got correct information. I did pull 3 permits that I pulled in one in North Aurora, one in Oswego, and one in Yorkville. And there's under Yorkville, they collect money outside of the fee. You have to go to the school district, pay $3,000. I don't know if it's transition or impact fee, but that's not listed. And then
It's under transition.
Transition fees.
Transition, okay. Didn't see it. And then Yorkville Bristol Sanitary District is $1,400. So I didn't see that. And under North Aurora, they have a number of different fees: engineering, plumbing, residential building fee based on area, a 1-inch water connection, $3,000, library, sanitary sewer connection that goes to the village, not to Pax Metro, stormwater system. So, there seems to be some discrepancy from what information staff received and what's on the actual permits.
I also didn't, like, some of those would be a building permit fee, which I didn't request. I just requested impact fees and transition fees. So all those, the building permit, the cost, the plumbing, those are all part of the building permit section, which I didn't survey. So I guess I can survey. Like I said, I didn't have time to update this number since August of 23. I can, if you want me to do that, but this is what I had received. Again, I tried to simplify this. I could send out the entire survey, but it is.
No,
It's
well,
increment,
I read,
and there's some of those are on there.
yeah,
But
right.
it's just there was a lot of different types of fees that didn't apply to the village, so I didn't necessarily feel like we should include them in the comparison, but I can. I'm almost positive I have all those, but
Yeah.
again, they're from 23.
When I read new home fees, to me, it's the building permit.
Okay. So the current permit fee is $17,850, and part of the discussion with staff, my understanding, so Scott, please jump in if I state something that is off, but is really, and we brought this up last meeting, was the need to, when developers are communicating with our staff, is they're looking for a breakdown on what the fee structure is. They needed it more, it was kind of all over the map, and so this is streamlining that for a new development. And also part of the discussions that came back from this board and trustees were getting our permit fees more in line with a development that has been recently approved. While we can't completely match it apples to apples, we are trying to streamline it and make sure that we're covering our basis and what we need, and also make ourselves attractive to developers that want to come build new residential development in Sugargrove. So our commercial development depends on that as well. So
I'd say yes, and while the Settlers Ridge agreement was extended, the annexation agreement was extended, the fees for Settlers Ridge, Matt, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, expired in 2023, and now use our current village fee.
24.
January 24. So they have expired. So they use our current village fee. So we needed clear direction on when the 95 homes that were approved in Settlers Ridge 5 and 6, when they come in to get a permit, instead of backing into our 17,850, we needed to have impact fees expressly put down by the board on those 95 homes that are coming up, because we cannot go off of that annexation agreement. So that was also vital for this. That, and what prompted it originally was Lennar contacted Matt and said, what's the breakdown on the fee? We have an ordinance saying 17,850 with some of the numbers outlined under it. One of the ones that we do typically charge that is not outlined specifically, for example, is our road impact fee. So we wanted to have everything lined out and be able to provide that, have that publicly available for any developer that may want to come, but also make sure that we're charging the correct amount for areas that do not have an annexation, or that do have an annexation agreement, but the annexation agreement does not cover fees specifically at the time.
And the other thing I just want to address as well is the annexation agreement for Settlers Ridge in particular, again, you know me, was roughly $10,000.
That's correct.
And so for development continuing in a community that has been stifled for so long, almost 20 years, I know what it's like to live in one of those neighborhoods. We want to make sure development continues. We want to make sure that Ryan Homes, as they have said they're going to come back with a master plan for the rest of it, I know that they are working to that end, that we aren't slowing their process down, that we are continuing to build out with a reasonable permit fee. So they're going to have to come up, because they were at 10, so they'd have to come to 15,333 roughly, but instead of the 17,850. So.
And this also, and Lennar was the first one, and then actually Danny had a couple just developers, not necessarily that had land. They were just asking, hey, what are your permit fees? And 17,850 as the base wasn't what they wanted. They wanted some type of breakdown, and at that time we didn't have one. Everything was based on an annexation agreement. So this is creating that, so if somebody does ask, they kind of know in a general idea is where this started. That's where the conversation started.
Well, the discussion keeps coming up about Settlers Ridge only being charged $10,000 for impact fees. Well, they did a number of water improvements that we're using today to satisfy the water needs of Crown development and other development. They made significant road improvements. They realigned Prairie Street so we could have a quiet zone. So there was justification for that.
I'm not saying there wasn't.
Well, the implication, the way you say it, there is.
Okay.
So there is reasons that it's below $10,000.
And there's justifications for why we did it for Crown's development as well.
I haven't seen it.
So right now, what we're trying to do is to add development to the community at a permit fee that is reasonable and competitive. And that is where we want to be. If there comes a time where the village board wants to put a permit fee in place where it stifles development, they're 100% able to do that. I think that right now what we're faced with is opportunities, and we want to make sure that we are competitive in the market. We're not giving away the village, we're covering our basis, we're making sure the needs of the village are met, and yet our permit fee is still reasonable, that we're attracting business. That's what this number represents. while still providing impact fees consistently, because every annexation agreement was different on impact fees that were provided to the other taxing bodies. In some case, there was no revenue, in some case, there was some, but it made it difficult even for Matt to have to go reconcile those permits to then send money to those other taxing bodies. So this is a more consistent, streamlined permit fee. And it gets discussed at budget time every single year. What we're looking to do is get the board to approve the 15,333, and then Matt will bring it back again with budget, because he uses that number in the budget process.
I think if you can make it more streamlined, that is good, because it looks to me like you were trying to do apples and oranges with this. And I know with a lot of the stuff, going to different municipalities and stuff, that's the case. And if we can have something just simple, straightforward, doesn't mean that it's cheap, it doesn't mean that you're leaving somebody out, but if you can just make it an easy read, and it's just simple, this is how much for this is how much for this, I think it makes it easier for the developers, the builders, the homeowners to know.
I'm gonna make the motion to approve as this
Okay.
stated.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I just want to add one other clarification point for discussion, and then I'll then call roll. The only thing I wanted to add is, under the premise of the Settlers Ridge development, having done all that major capital infrastructure, which I agree with, then the permit fee should be staying the same, not going and jumping, because that development did do all of that work. But in essence, we're going from 17 down to 15, but under that theory, the entire development should stay. It's not the fault of the development that 20 years have passed before the other lots came in. But had this all been done in 15 years, the permit fee for the entire development would have been $10,000, under the rationale that they front-funded all the infrastructure, which I don't disagree with. So we're trying to keep it from going to 17 and it's going to 15. But the whole development, in theory, because the annexation agreement expired, should be paying $10,000 in fees. So.
Just wanted to clarify, the annexation agreement was extended, the
The fee
timing
structure.
of the fees was for a set amount of time.
Okay, thank you. So I have a first out of trustee White and a second out of trustee Bonnie.
First out of me, second out of.
Reverse, first out of trustee Bonnie, second out of trustee White. Roll call, please, Maddie.
Trustee Bonnie?
Aye.
Trustee White?
Aye.
Trustee Michaels?
No.
Trustee Lindy?
Aye.
Thank you, motion carries. 3-1. Up next, resolution amending the zoning, subdivision, building permits, and other charges for fiscal year 24-25.
All right,
Yeah.
so this is back after a discussion that happened the first meeting in November. The two new items that were presented were a mass grading permit fee, and then also the solar field garden or farm installation permit fee. And the request from the board was for the approved special use permit for Suncode, what a permit fee cost would look like to make sure that it is covering our cost. So based under that and the 10 megawatt system that was presented, it'd be about a $51,000 permit, which staff is comfortable that that will cover our costs, even for an outside consultant that will have to inspect that sort of field. So those are the two new fees, and then what we would be doing is just solidifying those new home permit fees that may have adjusted in the fee schedule, is making those adjustments.
Any discussion?
I just want to say that, after 4 years that I've been here, Matt's been doing this, balancing our budget, making sure that we have 100% of funding for items and not 50% like we did before. And so I just want to thank you for being as good as you are at this.
Appreciate it.
Because I really do trust you wholeheartedly when it comes to this stuff.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for your comments. Agreed.
Agree.
Do you have any specific questions on this item? Because this was something, remember, that we didn't have, so this is new.
I'm fine with it.
Okay. Hearing nothing, can I get a motion to approve item I, the resolution as previously stated?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
I have a first out of trustee White, second out of trustee Bonnie. Roll call, please.
Trustee White.
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie.
Aye.
Trustee Michaels.
Aye.
Trustee Lindy.
Aye.
Thank you, motion carries 4-0. Up next, Matt, is the resolution approving the intergovernmental agreement with the city of Aurora.
Madam President, I will remove myself from this conversation and from the room
Thank you.
for a possible conflict. Thank you.
Okay. So Maddie, just for the record, he is technically not in the room, so absent from his stays.
He's actually not.
I know, actually not in the room, absent, not here for part of the forum at this time. Chief.
Thank you. This matter was brought before the board back in May. And just as a reminder, the city of Aurora was looking to get out of the business of dispatching or activating emergency warning sirens for the communities that they entered into agreements with back in 1999, which was the village of Sugar Grove and the village of Montgomery. Village of Montgomery was removed a few years back. They solely activate their own emergency warning sirens. Sugar Grove, we took it upon ourselves to also have control over that, but use the city of Aurora as a backup for us in case our officers were busy, so they couldn't get to activate the sirens. They sent notice to us, and we brought this matter back back to the village board for direction. As a board, you directed staff to work with the city of Aurora and coming to a resolution. One of the items that we were desiring was one specific siren location, which is off of Fox Metro, off of 56, was part of the original agreement. It was owned by Sugar Grove. A few years later, in 2001, the village of Sugar Grove and the city of Aurora had the second IGA allowing that siren, a larger siren, to be placed there at the cost of the city of Aurora, and they also took the time to move the existing siren that was there into Mallard subdivision. So we thought it was beneficial to continue to keep that siren under the control of the village of Sugar Grove moving forward, since it really sets a number of areas in our subdivisions gets activated. We would have to put a siren there if we didn't do this. So the city of Aurora has worked with us, and they are desiring to donate that siren to us at no cost. So, however, we will lose them activating the sirens on our behalf. But again, we'll have another matter coming forward with other ways of activating besides us. So there's an IGA that that was worked on with the city of Aurora, and Aurora had some comments and made some changes, and we're looking for approval for moving forward with taking over the donated siren.
Thank you, Chief. Okay. Any discussion?
There's nothing about operations, of how the siren goes off or anything like that, how it's activated. Not in this.
Yeah, not in this, but just a little bit of a backdrop. It obviously goes off. It went off today, should have at 10 o'clock. Typically will, except in the winter months. It does a weekly silent test every Monday, and it's part of my board report to make sure all the sirens are activating properly. And then we can manually test. We can manually set them off through controls here at the station, and through our radios in the car. So. And then coming forward is the desire to hook up with the National Weather Service. If they put a polygon or any other shape around us that says we're in a certain tornado warning, then it will self-activate. So and that's a future one that should be here in the next couple of months. But Scott and I were trying to get through, not to have them disconnect from us sooner, that we want to get through the through the summer months of active tornadoes to make sure, let's do this at a time when we typically do not have tornadoes, but there are winter tornadoes.
I appreciate that, Chief. There was talk, when you first came up, of whether we would have to pay Aurora at all for that siren. I think it's great that we know. Because as you said, it serves more of our community
Mhm.
So, thank you for that.
They were very accommodating, a good partner. Aurora was on this one, they were. And they said too, basically, that if we set it off for our area, they have that neighborhood across from Settlers, that would be a time when they may not, Aurora may not, so we'll catch it, and it'll be good for them as well. It was a very positive and constructive discussion with Aurora, so it's
Yeah, so.
good partner.
Yeah, so we're very fortunate because if we activate our sirens, all our sirens in Sugar Grove will go off. If you're in Aurora, if any tornado or conditions exist, they set their sirens off, the entire city goes off, so it's not segmented. So this is good for them. It benefits the people adjacent to Sugar Grove that they'll get the warning. They may not have, depends on the path of, the incoming storm, they may not have to activate the rest of their community. So.
Sounds like a win-win.
Yeah. Good, thank you, Chief. I know you've been working on this for a while. Can I get a motion to approve item J, the resolution as previously stated?
Just real quick before the Lord is,
No.
3 trustees, does Jenny the vote or is it?
I would like just because you can't vote like three, if three vote in favor, you can vote.
Okay. 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 Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve item J?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
First out of trustee Michaels, second out of trustee Lindy.
Trustee Michaels.
Aye.
Trustee Lenny.
Aye.
Trustee White.
Aye.
President Conan?
President Conan.
Yeah, for the record. Thank you. Okay. Do you want to get trustee Martin? Up next, we have public comment. Also on our agenda this evening, under discussion, we have an ordinance approving the final plan unit development for Sugar Grove Lot, or Center Lot 9, which if you move, B, rebranding village and mascot, item C, amending financial policies, utility billing policy for the village of Sugar Grove, item D, fiscal year 24-25 mid-year budget update, item E, fiscal year 25-26 salaries and wages COLA. Any public comment at this time for any of those discussion items, and then also anything that you would like to discuss with the board, feel free to use your time under public comment. Please, Lou.
Lou Lendy. Again, standard disclaimer, my views are my own, not necessarily shared with trustee Lendy. I wanted to talk a little bit about the rebranding. I understand our village is growing, and as our boundaries change, we need new signs. I understand we've got a lot of development going on that could be building water towers. These things, when they're added, they need to be painted. And it makes sense, if we're considering rebranding, to do this now as we are looking at all of these new objects that need to be painted. I also understand and like the idea of having such work professionally done. I've seen some municipalities that have tried to come up with homegrown brands and stuff like that. Some of it looks pretty bad. So needing a professional job, I think, makes sense. But I don't like paying for design. So I was kind of tickled when I saw that Crown volunteered some designs for us. I just wouldn't let them be the only submission. I would say we would want to encourage some of the other businesses in Sugar Grove who may want input, who may have ideas to, present what they've got. So I just wanted to plant that seed. I also just wanted to ask, if I'm understanding what a mascot is in this context, we're talking about more of an official village animal or something like that, not somebody running around in a suit firing a t-shirt cannon. If that's true, can we call it something else besides mascot? Thank you.
Thank you, Lou. Any other public comment at this time?
I'll be commenting on the same thing tonight. I'll be reading some comments of my own, but also some comments relayed from a Facebook post discussing the mascot and the logo. So this is literally bought and paid for and gifted to us by Crown. How ridiculous is that? There was a comment made by Planning Commissioner Jones that said something to the effect of, we need better materials for marketing and advertising, and that's why it's in Crown's best interest to do this. Not that I believe anything Larry says, but for the sake of the argument, let's go with it. I only have one question. If we need better marketing, why in the world are the taxpayers paying up to $6,000 a month for marketing from Cran Strategies? Also, the leaf on the logo is not correct. They're using a Japanese maple leaf, while the village of Sugar Grove literally got its name from the abundance of sugar maples. Someone else said, oh, the irony, let's chop down old growth trees where the owls nest, but we'll use an owl for the mascot. Brilliant. Their vision looks like a Del Webb community plan. Gross. Someone said, no, it's not the right type of leaf, first of all. Try sugar maple leaf and we don't need rebranding at all. Someone else said, nope, the current logo is fine. This gift that a 5-year-old could have designed will cost the village extra money. Put that money where it is really needed, like the schools. Someone said, the new logo is fine, the current logo is fine. But this type of thing always leads me to ask, don't we have other important issues to address? Someone said, personally don't care for the logo. Sugar Grove is named for large presence of sugar maples. A leaf itself is not a good representation. Maybe a tree itself. Overall design feels basic with minimal thought, not to be confused with simplistic, which can be good. The font is very caricature-like, don't care for it either. Someone said, I do not like the logo, definitely not the right leaf style. And why let Crown drive our bus? I have not heard the public screaming for a new logo and rebrand of everything Sugar Grove. The mascot is also something I have not heard mentioned by the public. Maybe come up with a couple of options and let the residents vote. Also, why does it say 1834 when the village was founded in 1957? And then, since it keeps being mentioned that the village has been stagnant in growth for the last 20 years, I might as well bring this up again as well. Thinking out loud here, in your words, President Conan, we want to diversify the tax base. But yeah, let's put our largest development in a TIF. On top of that, the industry that would be coming with that development is also in the TIF. So it's not diversifying the tax base. And on top of that, there's plans for larger scale residential development in Sellers Ridge, as well as plans east of Windsor and at Bliss and Denny. But yes, let's diversify the tax base.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Going once, going twice, 3 times, we'll close that portion. Up next, discussion. Danny, the ordinance approving the final plan unit development for Sugar Grove Center Lot 9.
The village has received an application from Guggenheim Development Services for final PUD approval and a special use for an automobile service station for Lot 9 in Sugar Grove Center. They wish to build a Jiffy Lube service station there. The Plan Commission held the required public hearing on November 20th. They discussed both the final PUD and the special use for the Jiffy Lube, and they overall did not have any concerns with the proposal. The special use is required through the Sugar Grove Center PUD. That is what is triggering the special use for this. Otherwise, it is a permitted use within our village code. So we are asking as staff that you guys discuss the proposal and provide direction to prepare the needed ordinances for approval. And we do have a representative here from the applicant if any questions.
Thank you. Board discussion.
I guess my first question is, why are we not having landscaping on the western boundary of the property?
That's a drive, with the drive aisle there, that's the entrance exit. Let me show us.
You're talking between Castle Bank and Jiffy Lube?
Yeah.
We could require it. It does not match the approved landscape plan for this lot for Sugar Grove Center PUD. Does not have anything there. They are going above and beyond what was approved for the Sugar Grove Center PUD. They do have to make some minor adjustments, which is part of the Plan Commission's recommendation that they provide final landscape plans that would move their sign to match the location that was originally approved and adjust some of the landscaping to match closer. One thing I did forget to note was that part of the Plan Commission's recommendation was to include a deviation from the foundation plantings for this building, because it does not make sense to require them to have an 8-foot planting bed in front of their building here.
Yeah, I was wondering if that was part of the initial approval, so I guess I'm okay with that then.
Is there a landscape plan, do you know, between FB&O and that on the western, do they have a planting bed?
Oh, I don't know.
No.
I'm just, but if the prior board already approved that without landscaping,
Yeah, actually what was approved was a lot less than what they're even showing here, so.
and then the other thing is the lighting plan. We've got some trespass lighting on the west side too. Is that something that we can?
We could probably have them adjust that.
Any other or additional
That's all I have.
comments?
That's all I have.
Okay, any other trustees have comments?
Did architectural review committee meet to review the facades of the building?
We do not currently have an architecture review committee.
Okay, we've had one in the past, and this shows a lot of ephes for the exterior. All the other buildings out there have a lot of brick or stone on it. So I think we're doing a disservice to the other buildings that are out there to allow all that ephes. I think there should be some type of siding going up in at least the north and south that are a little bit more visible elements, but I'm opposed to all the ephes.
I agree, I don't architecturally love the exterior of this building. I've seen several Jiffy Lubes where you don't have one that much red standing out. I know previous boards have taken into account the Culvers as an example, not getting approved with a blue roof as their staple. And I know Jiffy Lube is a color of, the red is a color of Jiffy Lube, but I would agree, I would prefer this building. I'm quite honestly surprised it passed through Jewel, where we just had a Starbucks go through the process and they forced Starbucks to build an entire brick building. Even though we would have preferred, I know I would have preferred some of their modernized looking Starbucks, that's not what was approved. So to see this plan on paper, one was surprising that there wasn't as much stone, and the coloring, like, we're looking at Jiffy Lubes this morning, and one that comes out, I don't know if you're familiar with it, is the one in Huntley. It still has the Pennzoil, like, yellow logo on the building. It's really toned down in color. It's got a lot of, it's all brick and stone. The gutters are hidden in columns. It doesn't look as industrial as this building does. I think this has a place in our village, but maybe not right there in our commercial area. So those are my comments on the architecture of the building. Any other board members?
I will say, just personally, I don't like it that much because it screams red, and yes, if it had more stone on there, I think it would blend in a little bit better. It's right next to the bank, which is, I believe, is much more masonry on it.
I think the use is one that's needed.
Yes, absolutely.
So I think that it would be a successful business. The architecture is just, it's not in keeping with the character of the surrounding businesses and what we've held the other businesses to.
Yeah, you said you've seen other Jiffy Lubes
That are beautiful, that are
different.
I will direct you to the one in Huntley. It is, if you could build that in Sugar Grove, it's gorgeous. I don't know if anybody can pull that up for us to show why we're here. Any other comments why she does that?
I'm the Van out apparently. I don't mind it at all. I think it's a nice building. I'm
I'm not a big fan of having everything match every single place. I think that a little bit of change is okay. I think the big red is their marketing ploy. I mean, you can see it, you know what it is. You know, driving down the road down 47, you see the big red Jiffy Lube before you see the beige Jiffy Lube. I really don't have an issue with it. So.
That is a picture of the Jiffy Lube. It is a brick building, but there is still red over the garage doors. Right?
Yeah, I'm just saying.
There's
that-
still signature red on it. I just think this is a lot of red.
Yeah, it's for visual, I'm sure, for when you're driving around, you see a big giant red square in the building, you know it's a Jiffy Lube. I know in the past, we've always had this problem with new businesses in town, coming to town, and we should hold them to a high standard. I just sometimes feel that the standard sometimes is a little bit too high for every single building. This is a new business wanting to come to our village, to bring in, you know, more tax base for us, bringing in employment for us. You know, if they're able to change, I suppose, but I'm okay with the way it is. That's where I stand on it. But I appreciate you coming in and even being here today. We don't have this. This is something that is needed, especially with the rising cost of taking your cars to your actual dealerships for oil changes. I mean, it's just getting astronomical now. So anytime you can save a few bucks, it's a good idea. So.
Thank you for your comment.
Can I ask, I'm looking at this page, which is not numbered.
This one, Chief?
Yeah. I'm just wondering if you might be able to bring up the brick to where it says multi-care, you know, right above the doors there, the header. That still gives you that large red mass at the top, and might ease it a little bit.
I'm sorry, so Curtis Geiger with Excel Engineering on behalf of Guggenheim. I didn't hear the first part of that. What was the request?
I'm just wondering if on this picture you see on the TV there,
Yep.
if you could bring that brick up to basically the top of the garage doors.
Oh, you're saying the request would be to bring that brick further up, but you would still have EFS above where the signage starts for the overhead doors.
That's what I'm asking. I don't know what anybody else thinks about it, but I mean, at least it softens.
Yeah.
The red. But it still gives you, as Trustee Bonnie said, that definitive Jiffy Lube look with the red above it.
Right, and I do appreciate everyone's comments. Obviously, there are Jiffy Lubes out there that are a different architectural facade, and they assess it, you know, I think in many different ways when whether it's Jiffy Lube or Guggenheim work together to build these sites. It's all under consideration, and so I think this is definitely worth taking back and having that conversation with. Obviously, we have some mixed, and I can see why. I mean, I travel around the country going to these, and as I go through communities, I can see both sides where some communities are looking for a wholesome look throughout their community, but I can also agree with Trustee Bonnie where as I go through those, when I personally am traveling and I'm trying to find a store specifically that I'm looking for that I know has a unique identity, I'll go through the ones that are all brick and they all have to adhere to that, and I can't find the store that I want without pulling over, getting my phone out, like where is it actually versus being hidden in there. But for some communities, that's great. You know, I mean, they're not looking to promote the business, they're looking to promote back to the branding of that community and what they want to fit. So I can appreciate everybody's opinion, and we'll definitely take that back to Guggenheim for deliberation on it. As far as the brick to a certain level, they do have, there are a couple different fits, and that might get into a category that goes beyond their efforts where like sometimes I think it's the full brick all the way up, or I don't know that I've seen that quite. It's normally just the 4 feet or all the way up, so definitely we'll consider that for review though. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I don't mind some of the red, absolutely, but it seems like a red, so it, like above the multi-therapy, just had that part red. And not in between the doors there, below that band, you know. Cause yes, I agree, if you're looking for something that, you're looking for that red sign, but, there's nothing really bright red on that corner, and so it's just, it's
Ace has a little red in their logo.
gonna, has a little red, but I mean, this is gonna be,
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot.
Well, I was going to bring in their standard building, and they're nice, changed it to, you know, the brick facade. They did add accent in red, but it blended in better with the surrounding buildings that are there.
Sure. I mean, the last thing I'll say is, I don't know if you can pull a street view of that, but there is, because of when the PUD was created in 2004 and they did that landscaping along Galena, there is, you know, very mature trees along there, which helps buffer that. If it were to be approved to be all red, there's a pretty good buffer screen on that, and obviously a very enhanced landscape plan that's being proposed along the remaining sides of the lot. And then also remembering the context of, on that paper, it's taking up the majority of the plot you're looking at, the paper you're looking at, but when we consider the actual size of the building, it's very small in comparison to the larger development around. When you consider the Ace Hardwares and the Jewels, it's a very minor amount of building facade in general. So just something for consideration.
Sort of as a side, I was told that the Ace Hardware is used in national advertising for Ace commercial, like Christmas commercials.
Okay, well, are there any other comments, or is it architectural based? Seems like it's architectural based. If you could bring it.
Which I'm a civil engineer, by the way.
If you could bring it back to that and, you know, see if they would consider different options for the exterior, just knowing that we have a mixed board on this plan, but if there are other options that they would propose for the majority, that would be appreciated.
Absolutely.
With two people missing too.
With two people missing, yeah.
How do they say?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Danny. Up next, we have rebranding village and mascot animal creature.
Thank you. As you know, the budget includes $30,000 for potential rebranding. The reason staff asked for that to be included in the budget when we did the budget was the fact of the potential new northern entrance to the village and the new signs and water tower that could be coming. That is in fact now happening because of the annexation agreement. Staff feels if rebranding is to be done, that now would be the time, because of the high cost to paint a water tower and the high cost to install or replace entrance signs. Lennar has also tentatively agreed to put in a new sign at 56 where you'd be coming into the village. So that's another one where the new branding could be taken advantage of if the board so chooses to move forward with it. So that's the reason for the timing on it. Also wanted to mention there is in your packet, and we can walk through it, a slide deck that was prepared by Norris Design. This was paid for by Crown Community Development. This was not requested by the Village of Sugar Grove. This was provided to us and given to us. They did it as part of their due diligence and process when they were working on their brand and working on the project itself. I see it as a starting point for discussion. In no way, shape, or form do I think this would be a final option that should just be immediately adopted. I think it's good for inspiration. The other thing that it does, that our logo doesn't because of the age of our logo, is that our logo was not developed during a digital page with the plan to be used on social media, on a website, and then adapted for other uses. So in the process of updating our brand, it could potentially work out well to be more adjusted or adapted for a modern age and the different uses that we would potentially have. Nothing is wrong with our logo, other than I've been told, this is not my area of expertise obviously, that it is a bit dated. However, it still works, we still take advantage of it, and if we decide to stay with it, that is, staff would not be opposed to that at all. Just wanted to reiterate that the time we feel, if it is to be done, in order to not have to do a bunch of repainting in the future, if in 5 years, the thought was to rebrand, that now is the optimal time to do it. And then also the mascot was an idea brought forward from the enhancement committee. They suggested the great horned owl because, for one, it's not a fox, which seems to be what all of our neighbors use, and it is something that is present in some of our forest preserves. And everybody kind of likes owls and likes the idea of an owl, so they asked to bring it forward. The reason it's up for discussion tonight is that if we do choose to have a village animal mascot or what have you, it would be a good time to work on that as well alongside rebranding, because elements of the brand could take advantage of that. If we were to have maybe like a button or a shirt or some more fun things where we would use the mascot, I would not, from what I've been told from experts, it's not good to include it in the brand necessarily, or the leaf or the tree or what could be used, but it would be good to have it be cohesive alongside of it, so that if it were used, it wouldn't look out of place next to the rebranding. So that's the reason and the timing to bring it up. If the board feels that it's not something that should be discussed at this time, obviously if rebranding's done, if we do decide to go down the road of a mascot or an animal, we can bring that up and use our new branding as part of it as well. So just wanted the reasons why this was put together. I wanted to make sure I brought that up as well. Happy to answer questions. I'm happy to talk through some of the slides as well, if that's the preference. And staff is looking for direction on if we'd like to bring on a firm to do this, and what direction to go. If we should have a subcommittee to handle the branding would be another recommendation from staff to get widespread input from around the village, because this is one of those things that would hopefully last for a very long time, and that a lot of people would see quite often. So we're looking for feedback on how and if to move forward.
Thank you. Just to add, some of the things that are in your slide deck as options, information, a starting point that North Design would utilize. The established of 1834 is an established date, it's not an incorporated date. They used that date because a lot of what they did before they put this together was go to our historical society, gather information about what the community was about, and they learned through their research, and one of the things they liked was the established date because of the age that it gives to the village. So it's not an incorporated date. The leaf is not an accurate leaf. The center of that leaf is supposed to represent some prairie grass. We have a lot of prairie around us. Different applications, when you see the banner, one of the things that they pulled from that on the banner as well was also from the Historical Society, which is the quilting that is done. Obviously, the Historical Society raffles a quilt every year, this time of year, but those banners there represent some of the quilting idea that's on there. And then just different applications of using just part of the logo without it being the whole racetrack, like this racetrack logo that we have today, is applications on benches and garbage cans, and just the detail that it can provide as the village moves forward and has additional furniture pieces within itself. So this is just a starting point. By no means is this to say, obviously the police logo is hideous on this slide, so there's a lot, but it's to show you what something could look like. The village will have to, I don't have Brad here, but maybe Matt, you can tell me how many years out we have budgeted for our water. I don't know which one will be next for our water tower painting.
I believe New Bond Road is in 2 years.
2 years out. So the timing of the discussion is, there are things that are going to have to be repainted, and so if we're having this discussion, are we doing it knowing that we have, you're repainting it and either putting the same logo up, or entrance monuments that he mentioned are coming, are we doing the same thing that we have? So this is a discussion to have. We did budget it knowing that potentially those projects would get approved, especially we were working on Lennar, talking Lennar for almost 2 years. So that's why it's in front of you today. So this is by no means a final, anything, just open for discussion.
Quick question for clarity, because I know my understanding is anything new, if we do the rebranding, anything new, we get the new brand. We wouldn't go paint a water tower that doesn't need to be painted.
Correct.
Just to put the branding on.
Correct.
So because I saw on social media people saying just painting it for the sake of rebranding. That is not the case. This is stuff that has to be painted to begin with. We would change it, and then the other things as they come along that need to be painted or whatever, it would get the updated one. So we would have a period of flux where we'd have a little bit of both.
Yes.
Is that
We would
correct?
definitely not spend dollars to redo something that is in good shape.
All right, I just want to make sure that was clear.
That is correct.
My thought on this is, and I differ a little bit with public comment on this with my husband. I would like to see some more community involvement in this, in the aspect of, have we reached out to Wabansie or even the high school for some of the graphic design to get some ideas? Because if we were going to pay somebody to do it, I'd rather that money go there. And that would get some involvement. I know when and it would also give the students an opportunity to have something in the portfolio. Now, it is important to have something that looks professionally done as well. I have seen some really badly done village logo that was not professionally done. It was done by a mayor, and it was terrible. And of a town. And anyway, so I think it's important that we have something that looks professionally done, but can we look at the possibility of utilizing the resources we have?
So my recommendation on that front would be to use professionals for our rebrand, but if we want for maybe for the mascot or the animal, would be an excellent opportunity to partner with Wabansie or the high school and have them work on that piece, as it's not ever present on the front page of our website, on our letterhead, and used for social media and other things. That's where I think we could maybe do both instances where we certainly want community input by and large, but I would err with a professional for the design of the logo and the rebrand, but the mascot I think certainly is an opportunity for a relationship with Wabansie. That's
Well,
my
I think with the mascot, what we need to do is reach a little bit for the drawing or something of that, but for the choosing of the mascot, I think it needs to be done by kids in our community. Like elementary school, have it at the library or something, give them 4 or 5 choices to pick from. Don't let them go wild on their own because you'll get crazy stuff. But say, hey, here are 4 or 5 options. And I don't know if it's, like I said, through the library or through the elementary schools, but if you give the involvement in that for them to pick, then they can get excited about it. And that's a big part of our community, are our kids, and they're growing up in it. And I think we can do that. And yes, and maybe somehow I'd like to try to involve the schools or the, Wabansie or something, and see what resources we have that we can do that.
That sounds good. We talked to the enhancement committee this morning, and there was a member of the enhancement committee that has a connection at Wabansie Community College in the digital, which department does she work in?
Digital marketing related.
Yeah, or graphic design or something like that. So she has a connection to.
And I understand the need to have it professional, because you want to make it look professionally done, or maybe we get a start from them or get ideas from them, and then we take it to professional. But I'm just trying to find a way of having the community involved in it.
No, 100% agree with you.
And I think it is important to have some kind of branding that is easier for it to be to put on multiple types of media, digital media, on paper and all of that. So it's also, less expensive when you have something less elaborate a lot of times.
Yeah, and our signs, I think about our existing signs that they're beautiful, the wooden signs that we've had some unfortunate graffiti on the Galena Boulevard, but also our Southern Wooden sign. I mean, those are maintained by staff, and when someone does, destroy them or put graffiti on, it makes it very difficult to touch up and fix. But it's very detailed, it's carved, there's a lot in there. So this is really a discussion and see where the board, how the board feels about this in general. As it would be the appropriate time if ever it were to be done.
Do we know when the last logo was updated? By any chance?
Would have been 98, 97, 98. John Clayton from the Park District was working with the village at the time.
What was the reason for updating it in 97 or 98?
I don't know what it was before.
Yeah, I don't know if there was a logo. And we took these trees, if you go up by the old Girl Scout office, there's a setting similar to how this logo was set up, so this was not really an artist rendition, it was an actual view within the village.
Thank you for that, I didn't know that.
Do we know what the logo was prior to the 97 or 98? Is there any way we can look at that logo at all? Do we know we locate that? Again, so, yeah. I would like to maybe, oh boy, I don't know where to start. Okay, yeah, so I think it's time for rebranding. I think it's time to update. I know just recently, it wasn't maybe earlier this year, we were looking at trying to make some pins that we needed for staff here. And it was extremely difficult just because of the logo and to get everything put on there. And it's not digital friendly. And it was going to cost more money to send out to have a graphic artist redo it in order to put it on. So we opted not to go that route, which is a shame. So I know firsthand trying to get things done for the village here that the logo was an issue. I like the simplicity of some of them. I like to see maybe some of the vintage logo, maybe see if we can incorporate that a little bit. So we're not forgetting where we came from and not just washing Sugar Grove all up, saying our brand new Sugar Grove, we forgot everything in the past. So I want to maybe see what other logos we've used in the past and keep that history. But I wholeheartedly believe it is time to change, and now is the right time to talk about it as we're painting, building, changing things. I think it's a good time to have this discussion. I don't, why, okay, so that is the question I brought up earlier, grant strategies. This is something outside of, is she part of this, is she not part of this, is this outside of, this is more not marketing for her, right? Is that kind of why we're not using her for any of this?
This is not what she does.
Okay, yeah, this is I know other cities around and villages around that have rebranded, relogoed. It's a undertaking, and to your point, it has to be done professionally. I like Heidi's idea. I think it's great to get the kids with some ideas, or even some residents with some good ideas, because somebody might surprise us and bring out something that's perfect, that we're like, that's exactly what we're looking for, and maybe we can take that and get that turned into a professional, use portions of it or something like that. So it would be nice to get the community involved in this. I think that's a good start. I like that idea with the children in the school too, to get them helping. I dislike, I know this is just a conceptual plan, and I will tell you, I do not like changing some of the colors in here. I think the colors are a little, I want them all red like Jiffy Lube. But no, I think it's a little blah. So I would like to maybe, work on the colors a little bit. But once again, these are all things that are just things that we can fix. But I think it is time to have a serious conversation about this. The $30,000 that's budgeted, that's not a quote to do this.
No.
Is that correct, Scott?
Correct. Yep. We
That's
didn't know the
just a
level
budget
to which
item.
we need to do it. Yeah.
So, I mean, it could be a lot less than that, it could be a lot more, we don't even know yet.
Correct.
And my final thing is, as much as I appreciate Crown giving this to us, and I think it is a good start, I would not like to use anything from Crown. I would like to make our own and do our own thing.
That's not the intent.
So, okay.
That was not the intent.
Excellent.
They did this because they knew that we were asking them to do monument signs. So it was the conversation, I said, well, if you're gonna do a monument sign, maybe it's time to update the village stuff, and that's where it came from, and they handed over their work product.
That
That's
makes
what they
perfect
did.
sense.
That's
Okay.
all that is.
All right. That's my take on it. I like it. I think we should. Or go backwards. Or with a little bit of a backwards. That's not
Maybe
forgetting.
we'll visit the Historical Society.
Okay, thank you.
And start there. Trustee White?
So I originally was opposed to it because I kind of like our road. However, hearing some of the reasons why, that it's harder to use it digitally, and I guess I can understand that it wasn't just, that it's not just something like you said to say, okay, it's a new sugar. And I like your idea of trying to incorporate some historical aspects to it, if it can be done. I also believe that there are probably a large number of very talented people in our village who could do this. And I would love to see it opened up to the residents. And I like the idea of having the kids involved as well. So I would be in favor of, based on timing of things, I guess I can agree that, yeah, we should, if we're going to look at it, now's the time to look at it. If we get in a bunch of stuff that we just don't like, then we don't like it.
Correct. Yeah.
So I guess that's my view.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Michaels?
I'm opposed to it. I think we have other priorities. We need to work on drainage on the east and west side of downtown as a priority, as opposed to spending $30,000 towards this. We need to address those issues. I definitely do not like what's proposed, the slides. And I don't, even if I was in favor of rebranding, would not encourage anything like this. I don't like the single leaf. I think it is the wrong leaf, as people have pointed out, does not show a grove of trees, which is Sugar Grove's namesake. So I think there's just a lot of issues, but first and foremost, there's higher priorities than rebranding. And the water tower, that'll be done by Crown, is years off. It's not imminent, because we have to have some development, and the infrastructure has to go north of the tollway, so I don't think there's a pressing reason to do it at this time.
Actually, we got 2 years before we do the other one in town.
Yeah,
So if it wasn't going to cost anything, like we could get students to do it, what's your view then?
I like our logo as it is. I think it shows our namesake. I think the name Sugar Grove is bold and direct and shows a good presence, where this one seems somewhat weak.
Well, this is not necessarily the one we're talking about.
I
If we had
know.
students come and do
But-
it, and it was free, you still would say, no, I want the old one?
Yeah, I think it's hard to improve on what we have. Because I like the grove of trees. I don't know how else you promote Sugar Grove without.
Well, see, I like progress. And so
And
if you
that's-
have young kids who are, we're bringing up, and we want the kids in the community.
As much as I want to get kids involved, I think it should be left to professionals to do this. It's-
Well, you can have professionals finish them up, but I think we need the ideas and from the community, not just the kids, but the kids mainly for the mascot, I think.
Maybe the mascot, but
And
not.
the
But I think-
$30,000 is just a budget.
That's not,
It's not costing us $30,000.
No, but by the time you start, changing out logos on squad cars, Public Works,
There's no logos on spot cars that change out. It says Sugar Grove, please. There's no
okay,
logos.
then the Public Works trucks, signage and things like that. I just don't think there's a need, and it's gonna run more than 30.
but it's not gonna be changed out. It's when it's going to need to be painted or bought again,
We're
then
doing it
it's
every
not
year.
much of a cost difference.
If we're re-stickering a car, a truck, when we get
Yeah.
a new truck, we're just re-stickering it with a new sticker, it's the same cost, so there's no, we're not going out spending the money originally, right, to re-sticker everything.
Staff is not recommending that. We're recommending.
Plow truck goes down, we get a new plow truck, it has to be stickered anyway, the new sticker goes on. it's the same cost as the old sticker going over, it's just a new sticker.
If it's more simple design, it might even be cheaper.
No, it's
I just want to state for the record that this has no bearing on whether or not we are able to do infrastructure improvements on Maple. That it is not, that project will happen in its time.
Yes,
and
not
this is
just
the-
me.
We have infrastructure, we have absolutely have infrastructure projects that we, quite honestly, I'm trying to think of what year, within the last 5 years, Matt has done a phenomenal job of budgeting and allocating every single year, marking money for all of those projects. So we are working to that end. I know that we have two major, and you know the two major projects that we have is the water relocation on 47, but also Maple as a project as well. One which we will be able to front fund, and one we're looking at, you know, low IUPA loans that are under 2%, and we're making higher on our investments. So we would keep our investments and bond for that project because that makes more financial sense. So we've done a good job. Matt's done a phenomenal job. Staff's done a phenomenal job to make sure the village is moving forward. We can afford to do this project. Whether the board wants to do the project or not is a different story, but it's not preventing us from doing infrastructure projects in the village.
We just added the drainage, the stormwater retention, or stormwater issues on the east and west side on our capital improvements program. It's not funded and it's not being talked about as of when Brad was making the presentation a couple of weeks ago. It was added to the list.
It was there. Matt?
Maple is different,
Yeah.
but
What are you
not-
referring to?
drainage for the east and west side of 47. So in
Which is
town, but
dependent on.
Snow Street.
Which is dependent on detention. And part of that, certainly, the detention on the east side is dependent on Settlers Ridge.
We've not done any engineering, so, you know, we need to.
We don't have
commit-
any property over there other than Settlers Ridge property to do stormwater detention on the east side of town.
Okay, what about the west side?
The west side of town, from my conversations with Brad, that water has to run toward Prairie Glen
Yes.
in that area.
But-
And that is a conversation that needs to happen with that property owner as they're looking to develop that
And
property
that's
as well.
the problem is we haven't done any engineering to identify what needs to be done. We need to start that engineering and do that prior to rebranding so that we can address those issues. It's horrible to get water in your basement, and I think we need to move that up on our priority list. And
We're getting water, people are getting water in their basement from that?
They have in the past.
Are they currently getting water in their basement though?
We haven't had a.
That's an
significant
allocation that, if there's people.
We did in '96, and.
Well, yeah, everybody flooded in '96.
No, not everybody.
But if we're getting water, residents are getting water in the basement, I think the board would want to know that now, based on
They're
their drainage
in
issues.
the corner of Calkins and Snow, Calkins and Grove. There is a house that gets a lot of water when we have significant rain events. And it's
Is
not
it-
been addressed.
Is it just one house?
It's a couple, but
Can we look
Gary
at that?
Hattersley used to
I was thinking
complain,
about-
Gary Hattersley used to come in frequently. What I'm trying to do is prevent emergencies or disasters like that happening, and we have not addressed it.
I hear what you're saying, I'm taken aback about, I've never heard of residents currently are getting water in the basement based upon drainage issues here in town. That's a major
When there's-
concern. We should start looking at, and I think if that's true, I want you guys to call Brad tomorrow morning and find out, because that's an important thing, that we need to work on that. So, and if that's not true, then, then you need to talk to whoever's telling you that it's not true, then, and explain to them, because, I think everybody here on the board who cares about the residents and water in their basements, that's horrendous, and that's a drainage issue. We need to figure that out now, so, let's.
Well, Brad was good and added it to our capital projects list. We just need to find the funding source, and 30,000 would go towards.
For just point of clarification, if it's something that happened in 1996, why wasn't it discussed or addressed until now if there wasn't
We're
other
starting to
incidents
get a
in between?
surplus.
Is it getting worse?
No, but we're starting to get a surplus and getting money ahead. Before, we'd have surpluses of $20,000, and we felt the money was better spent putting it in towards the roads. Now, based on the fund balances, we can start addressing.
Is there a past study or anything that was ever put in the capital plan that we can just go back and look at to draw from? Or is this just something that hasn't been looked at at all?
It's not, nothing that's been, it's always been on our radar, but it's not been something.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely discuss it with Brad Ferguson. Thank you.
The entire older section of town, certain areas do not have any stormwater management, and that is a fundamental issue with the road quality as well. So we have to manage stormwater in order to improve our roads. So as an example, the east side of town has had major complaints, especially in the wintertime when they get a lot of potholes with the freeze thaw, but water is sitting on the roads because it's not being diverted to a detention basin. More development, certainly on the east side, helps them from a stormwater management perspective, where they're going to have a quality improvement in their roads. So they'll be able to manage that water as the Settlers Ridge project moves to the east. The westbound project, absolutely, from my conversations with Brad, water has to move over here to Prairie Glen, and that you have to have a place to move the water. So those capital projects are there, they know about them. We will fund our capital projects as we have them. More development, more people paying our water tap-on fees gives us the ability to use those funds for the capital projects that we have. So it's been a challenge in the past when you're not paying into the fee system, but right now even the Lennar project will produce some tap-on fees, $1.5 million. So that goes to our water capital. That is part of what we're trying to accomplish through the permit fees that you just approved, is to make sure that we're building our capital to more development over there helps development over here. This is, sorry, on a tangent.
That makes sense.
Brad's not here. But it would seem to me that if we have this issue on the east side that's going to be settled by a settled board, then maybe we should be talking to them about temporary drainage easement over there and seeing if there's some way we can talk with the new developer about maybe getting something like that and try to resolve some of those issues sooner rather than waiting for Settlers Ridge to come over.
Yeah.
And that's where we need the funding for the engineering.
Right, there's other funding sources.
Yes.
We have other funding sources. We don't have, we're
This
not
is-
scraping
this is-
pennies for $30,000.
Correct.
But Matt, this 30,000, I know you're, sorry to put you on the spot, but this up to $30,000, it's not even 30,000, up to the $30,000 that you put in here, that's making a break in the village on this? No. I mean, there's nothing, I mean, are we able to, there's funding projects where this $30,000 make a difference on those large funding projects when we're looking at bonding for school anyway?
No, this is in our capital fund, which we have the road fund, which will be road projects, but this is in our separate capital.
Okay, thank you.
I think the other thing too is it sounds like the majority of the folks here, we have 2 more trustees that are not here, would like to investigate moving this forward and have staff look into it a little bit more, see what our costs look like, see whether we can put a committee together, get community involvement. So I'm going to ask staff to move that forward.
So I had a follow-up, just to follow for a little bit more consensus. Would the board prefer this come back more often and have a discussion here, or would there like a subcommittee be set up with maybe some residents and I'll make sure to then bring back some ideas that are gathered from the community to the board, or would the board like to do the discussion themselves? That's the next step for me to know to bring a recommendation forward.
I guess my preference would be is to have a committee come up with like 4 or 5 options. I'm thinking back to the town center committee, where it just kind of brought us a final product and we didn't have a lot of say in that area.
Okay. Fair?
Just maybe.
Yeah.
And so the committee will
And I think
solicit.
Sean did a wonderful job on it, sorry. But
Heidi was on it too.
Heidi was on it too? Thank you, Heidi. You did a wonderful job too.
So really, before any money is spent, there will be a committee put together that solicits information from the schools, from the community, ideas, and then they'll bring 4 or 5 ideas to the board before money is spent, other than, having meetings and things like that, just general costs with staffing. And then that'll come to the board, and then the board will decide, we like some of these ideas, and then move forward and engage with the professional to go that direction. Is that a starting basis? There'll still be approvals that would come ahead, including the committee itself, would be its advice and consent from the village president that would come before the board as well.
Even if we need the professional, we don't even know that yet.
Right.
That's what I mean. The committee doesn't necessarily mean that any money has to be spent, is my.
That's my thought.
Okay, that's first steps.
Thank you.
Okay, and the reason I moved to that quickly is because you'll see when you go through the mid-year budget, when we're talking about surpluses again, that we are, again, typically moving into the capital for projects, larger projects, as we have in our near future. So, thank you for the discussion. Matt, amending the financial policies and the utility billing policy for the village.
Yeah, I was listening.
All right, so this next item, the financial policies of the village have generally been looked at every couple of years. Last time was in September of '22. As we're going through this year, there's been internal policies that in the utility billing department at least 10 plus years. There has been some written and some that they are doing, but what we would like to do is start kind of putting those into our actual financial policies. And what that is now creating a new utility billing policy since we don't currently have one. So there were items that we do get calls about, that we get calls from residents, whatever we're doing. Those items have been compiled in this policy, and I'm looking for just kind of discussion from the board on how you feel about them. I did do a survey of surrounding communities on some of these items to see what they are doing. There were 14 of them that is in the packet as well. So I kind of want to go one by one and just kind of see what the consensus is, so that if we do move forward with approving a policy, where the board sits on that, so I can track that. So the first one is a pool filling credit. I won't say we get a ton of these, but probably 10 to 15 a year about calls about if we have credits for water on actually when they fill their pools. Now, we don't currently do that. Fox Metro does, because they're treating sanitary sewer and they know it's a pool, so they have a standard policy on that. I did that survey of the 14 communities, and 10 of them do not do a pool filling and 4 do. So
They don't charge for a pool filling?
They don't give a credit
They don't give a credit.
for pool fillings. So just looking for direction. None of these are staff recommended that we should keep or not. It's just we want them to be.
I think it's a cost of doing business. If you have a pool and you're gonna put water in it, it's water usage. And it's different from water reclamation, but you're using that water and you're gonna get water. Right. You gotta pay for the water.
And now there's a water and sewer side to both of these.
So the sewer side, though, they're calling Fox Metro.
They're calling, we have a sewer charge as well. So they're getting it from the sanitary sewer side, because they're not actually treating the water.
Okay.
Same idea as water's not going through our sewers. To get to Fox Metro, we have not, but no one else, like I said, 10 communities do not get it for water or sewer, and 4 do.
Okay, so on the sewer side.
Yeah,
so
this
you-
is talking about both sides. So
I
we can
understand.
do both. We can give a sewer credit if that's what the board is inclined
Well, I think
to do.
that's,
But
what
that's
do we charge on our sewer fee? And I know it's probably per.
resident is $4.94 per 1,000
Per
gallons.
1,000 gallons. Well, a pool is gonna be a lot more than that. What did you say, 4 what?
Like 494.
$4.94.
Is it 30,000 gallons for a pool?
Anywhere from, if it's an in-ground pool, you're 25,000 to 30,000 potentially on the sides. It's 25, 4.94. Well, that's significant, it's significant on the sewer, because they're not using sewer. So how do you measure that?
So, from just practical standpoint,
Yeah,
what we would do is probably look at their previous months and credit them the difference. Is the easiest way. That's what, if people do give them, that's kind of what they do is, Batavia will look at a year and do it. Some people will just look at the previous few months to see what their average sewer bill was. and then credit when they see that spike in.
Because you're gonna see, if they're filling the pool from their house, you're gonna see thousands of gallons being pumped out at a time.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't do anything more than over.
I think a sewer credit is reasonable. They're not using sewer for that case.
How much in staff time are we spending to do this?
Like I said, we probably get 10 to 15 calls a year on this.
And it's looking at their meter, which staff has access on the computer to see meter reading.
Just thinking from a time standpoint.
Yeah. But like, for a resident though, that is filling their pool, you're paying the water rate. But on 25,000 gallons, it's $123. That isn't going through the sewer system that we're charging. So it's a significant amount of money.
That's fair.
But you're paying for the water, we can't give you the water for that, so. But the sewer seems reasonable to give a credit on pool fill for the sewer credit. And then they have to call Fox Metro because they have their own fee, and they do the same thing that Matt is suggesting we do. As they look at your average bill, and go, I filled a 25,000 gallon pool, and then they look and they give you a credit.
I don't know exactly how Fox Metro determines theirs, but I know
That's
they
not
do
the
give,
issue.
I know they do give the credit for pool.
Any other thoughts? Board members?
It's fine.
Okay. Next,
Same thing.
So sounds a little different. I know it sounds like the same thing, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it always is.
Not sewer, right?
Right, it's not necessarily all just saying in the sod, but that's why we need to do it again. Survey that surrounding 11 do not give any sod watering and 3 do. And 2 of the 3 that do are just on new homes. So they don't do it if you just replace your sod.
They encourage being economical and watering every other day as opposed to every day, so I think, it's good to keep that sewer charge on.
That's, yeah.
I think that
Again,
makes it
we're-
easier for you.
We're
to-
open to whatever, and that one for us is a little bit harder, because
Yeah.
people just water.
Correct.
We don't know if it's sod, we don't know. The only way we would know is they do have to get a sod watering permit. That doesn't mean everybody's getting that.
Okay.
Does the sod watering permit give you the ability to water every day?
Mhm.
That's the difference, right?
Yes.
Okay.
10 days, 10 consecutive, yes.
So you have a timestamp, but I think it gets a little bit, it muddies the waters a little bit.
Yeah, it's-
I don't think it's worth the time for staff to try to figure that out.
Okay. All right, this next one is waiving of the penalty. Generally, practice has been if you don't have a penalty, you get it once every calendar year, essentially. And that is looked at on a history basis. Essentially, is if you're not missing payments consistently, you get 1 in a year. That's practice. Again, we're open to it. Again, none of these are staff recommendations. We're just trying to get them solidified in policy.
Yeah, I think it's reasonable, I think especially in light of the fact that we've gone to automatic credit card payments. And for anyone who's dealt with credit card fraud and you have something already linked to an account and you have to go change all of those things out, if for whatever reason we are billing and it's denied because that person hasn't updated that card yet, it can be a complete accident, they shouldn't have to pay a fee. If they've been a good payer of their bill and they're identified within that, but it shouldn't happen more than once.
For how long of a time period?
Well, they would do it once every 12 months as a grace.
So I will not pay my bill for 6 months and get my penalty waived?
No.
No, 1
You
month
have to
at
be
a
current
time.
on your payments. It's like if one time you
So
will look
up to
back
a
at your
month.
payment history.
Right, one time.
Yeah, like we'll
One
look back at your
fee
payment
waived.
history, and if you
Within
don't,
the 12-month period.
Well, I understand, I'm just saying.
but if you don't pay your bill for 6 months, we would not give that to you because you're missing.
Because you're delinquent.
Right.
Yeah, you're missing.
Okay.
Are you good with 1 grace period?
That's what it looks like the
Take it out of
majority of
scale
the
system.
other municipalities have as well, and your explanation makes sense.
Payment plans. Currently, that is one that we have a separate policy on, that's the payment agreement policy, which is an attachment. That is also one every 12 months is bill, and that is based right now currently on amounts. So if you have a hardship or anything, we do have that ability. And then in that third page, which is on 134, tells you kind of how many months we would do a payment plan for, based on the amount that's outstanding. And what our payment plans do is it does freeze so you don't get the late penalty as long as you're current, so you have to pay your current bill plus the payment agreement amount. If you do default, then you're back, that it voids the agreement, and you're back to the normal process of the village with penalties, tax, and shut-off. So the current is one payment plan for every 12 months.
Did we talk about building permits?
Not yet. We haven't done that.
Oh,
Sorry.
No,
I skipped it, yeah. I wrote it in different orders.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
So, just curious, how frequent do we use the payment plan?
Not often.
Okay.
Generally, I think the most we've ever had outstanding at one time is 6. And we
Okay,
have
so it's not.
over 4,000 accounts, so not a general usage that we're having a bunch of.
Okay, and it seems to work out fairly well?
Yeah, and we make it very clear, we actually have a payment agreement
Uh-huh.
that they actually sign off on. So, and it tells them, if you don't pay, you default, you go back, and it explains everything to the resident, and they have to come in and physically sign that.
Okay.
Or send it back to us. So there's an actual agreement where they know the terms.
Okay, and if that's been successful, I think that's fine.
Okay.
That's my.
Good. All right, the next is the outstanding balance. Currently, we do not have building department look at any really outstanding fees or bills owed to the village before issuing a permit. So if a resident came in for a building permit, they're not looking at to see if they owe 3 months of water bills before they're getting a permit. So it's something that we wanted to bring as a discussion item. If the board wanted to implement that, that is something we don't currently do.
I think if you're looking for a building permit, you should be current on your bills with the village. I say a head nod.
Yeah.
I think that's.
If you're out getting a building permit, paying for a building permit, you should be able to pay your water bill.
Well, how many building permits are we issuing a year?
How many are we issuing a year?
Yeah, no, I thought we usually had that in our report. Let's see it.
In Danny's report maybe, but I know last year we budgeted over 600 miscellaneous permits.
So she's gonna check with you on every one of them.
It's not really checking with us. She has the ability to view all of that. Our new software system has it. Every address has all the information in one screen.
If that came in for like a fence permit.
She's gonna see if you're current.
Say it.
She's gonna see if you're current.
Yeah.
Without going to that.
Easily.
Yeah.
She can help us see it apparently.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's all linked to each address with our upgrade to cloud.
Okay.
It links everybody, so they'll be able to see if there's any amount due for any reason.
What if they're own multiple properties and delinquent on another address? I don't think you could hold it up.
So we would only do it based on the address itself, not if like a landlord or multiple ones. It would be their one address that they're pulling that permit on.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, so get more in the weeds, what if you're on a payment plan? Does that count as delinquent? For the purpose of if you were going to hold a
Good question.
permit?
You're technically not delinquent on a payment plan, as long as you're paying.
Correct.
Okay.
Technically, we don't treat you as delinquent because we're not charging late fees.
Okay.
So,
So as long as you got your stuff back together and you got a plan, then you're good. All right.
Everybody good with that we're not issuing building permits to somebody who's delinquent on existing bills. So that's a change.
okay. The next one that's kind of already in place is just the delinquency policy that we have. And this is a policy that we implement for delinquent accounts where there are notice to the residents. So delinquent notices are sent 60 days, and essentially that gives you 30 days to make current prior to the next bill being tagged. So tagging is after 90 days. And then issuing the penalty. Penalty is 10% of the current bill. This one we're not really looking for any kind of change, it's just actually incorporating all the policies that don't.
Was that all of them, Matt?
The other last one is the account adjustment policy, and that's something that we use. Again, this one is pretty case specific for us, but there's different changes, whether they're estimates that are wrong, seasonal patterns, any type of failure to the meter that's deemed ours. Like, this is just giving us the authority to make these types of adjustments on accounts. And looking at that as just implementing that policy into our village-wide financial policies.
Back in the day, once in a great while, we'd get a client that calls, and this is before the new system where you couldn't monitor high flows, but you'd get a client that called and said, we used 100,000 gallons, which would have meant that the spigot would have been running nonstop for a month. And, you know, you do a test of the meter, and the meter seemed to work fine. And I think our old procedure was to average their monthly bills for the last 12 months and take the average and charge them. Do you have that discretion with something like this, or does it not happen with?
So it doesn't happen with the new system. We automatically get a notice if water is running for 24 hours consistently, and that's as low as 10 gallons an hour.
Okay.
And daily, our clerk will make calls to residents to notify them. We'll send emails if they're on file. We'll call them physically, leave messages to let them know that they are on our continuous usage list. So we don't get those a lot.
Okay.
But there is some that we get. There's very few. I think there's under 20 that we have been estimating, mainly the airport. But there is one that we just got, and they're going to get a credit for almost 100,000 gallons because they have been out of the country for almost 3 years. So we haven't been able to get a reading. So now we got a reading. They'll get a credit on it. That's these types of adjustments that we need to make because we have situations. It's just give us the authority to make those. But generally, those continuous ones where we're getting calls that people have floods that they're not knowing about or finding out we don't have those anymore because we do make those calls on a daily basis.
Okay.
I think it's important that staff have the ability to, on the fly, make decisions that affect our residents and not anything like that come back from board approval. I've been in the office and heard Rachel make outgoing calls to residents, and residents are answering the phone, I don't have any water running. And she's directing them to their water softener, to their toilets, to their check. Have you been in your basement? Have you? So I think your staff is doing a phenomenal job of recognizing when they're getting triggered, that there's usage happening. And even I've heard staff on the phone when it comes to water shutoffs and those painful conversations that they've had. So I will just let you know that I can attest to the fact that they are, they handle our residents with grace and understanding, and they're trying to work with everybody. Knowing that some people come into financial hardship, some people are, don't know what's happening and having water issues, but I've seen every situation rectified with staff and no need for our involvement.
And I appreciate that. And then I also want to say all these policies and everything will have myself, and if I'm not there, Scott will be that approver for any type of account adjustment, refunds, credits, anything of that sort.
Yes.
That's our checks and balances, and actually within our software, we can trigger that whenever a credit is done or an adjustment on account, it automatically requires our approval. So those will all be implemented to make sure that this is done. Right now they are done, it's just not a audit on the system done. We talk about it and approve those, but that will be implemented with all of these policies.
Great. Okay. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
mid-year budget update.
All right, so as of October 31st of '24, we've been through 6 months. We do this on an annual basis. We'll go through what we budgeted and what our new projections are for every account. Look at the accounts coming in lower, higher for revenues and expenditures. So general fund revenues are expected to be higher than budgeted by about 84,000. And expenditures are below budget by approximately 175,000. So this is projected to result in a surplus of the unrestricted fund balance of about 281,000, as compared to the actual budgeted of 21,000. To understand the revenues a little bit better, there's a few non-recurring revenues that have happened throughout the budget to increase those revenues. One is the franchise agreement account. This does include that one-time settlement that was discussed at the last MetroNet regarding MetroNet's buyout. I know there's been discussion regarding potentially having them provide service rather than that, so that may change that depending on what that's, but that is in here because that is the settlement amount that we received. If it is a credit to our account, roughly in the general fund, it's about $1,600 a year that we pay to MetroNet in the general fund only. So that's split between the two. So we'll look at that further, but I can give, it depends on what the decision is of the settlement or the credit. We'll adjust it. At some point, we're going to see a savings, whether it's on the expense side or the revenue side. In grants, we did receive some grants, 2 from Irma for works on safety and lift safety. We are going to be applying for the Irma body on camera grant again. This is their last year for that. And then we did receive $14,000 of additional supplemental agreement with this SRT, which is Small Rural Tribal Body Worn Camera Micro Grant through the Department of Justice for 7 additional ones, so that was $14,000. There was an increase in zoning and filing fees just for the Crown application. And then I do put this in here as interest is, I don't like to look at it as necessarily a recurring revenue expense. The last couple of years have been okay, and we are seeing large increases, but I don't like to look at that as a definite that we're going to have this, because it is 181,000 almost. So rates have started to slightly come down and are expected to come down in 2025. Most of our investments are maturing the beginning of 2025, so we're going to review all of those going forward. So that is in here as those revenues that increased. And then there are some recurring revenues. Those are generally our state revenues. Income tax increased slightly, 19,000, and that's based on the newest IML revenue estimate for November of 2024. 2 couple changes is state sales tax. That did increase. We eliminated the grocery tax during the budget process. So with that change, but they did delay it until January 1st of 26. So that did increase because of that, and then the state use tax actually decreased, and those are based on estimates. Now I will say there's a new law that is going into place January 1st of 24 that is very similar to the Level Playing Field Act that we saw the increase in sales tax back in 21. They are making that not just online sales anymore, it's actual physical presence outside of Illinois, but you have a business in Illinois, you now have to start paying sales tax rather than use tax. So this use tax will go down, but sales tax should increase. And that is effective on 1/25. Then kind of going through more general fund revenues, property taxes were estimated over, and this is due to tax collection exceeding from prior, and just our collection rate's almost 99.5%. And then also the revenue recapture that the county does. That's not a number that we calculate. I do apologize, number 2 should be removed. It's in there twice. For franchise agreement, again, that includes that MetroNet settlement. Towing fees expected to be above. Income tax we just talked about. Sales tax rebate, that is going to be slightly under budget by 2,200, both down payment, Culver's. agreements have expired this year. So we do not have any current general fund sales tax rebates that are active. We discussed sales tax being higher, zoning and filing fees, and then reimbursement is going to be under budget because it has a correlating expense that also decreased. So as we're talking that those expenses did come under budget by $175,000. What are those main ones? Both in community development. One is the full-time salaries, and that's that transition of the community development director and the vacancy of the planning and zoning administrator. And then community development for engineering services decreased about $100,000, as that's not anticipated. And I believe when that was anticipated back with budget, that the Crown project would be further along when or if, so they budgeted for it, which again, it just has an offsetting revenue. There's no net effect to any of that. Because those are all reimbursed through the developer. So looking at the general fund on a budget-wide basis, medical and dental expenses were budgeted at about a 4% increase from 24 to 25. The actual increase was roughly 7 for medical, and then 3.5 for dental. It was at 6, so they got it done with 3.5. IMRF was budgeted at 4, and it actually went up to 6.78. And that just strictly has to do with some investment return and actuarial studies based on retirement ages and rates. And then a vehicle and equipment replacement has been funded 100% throughout the general fund. IT slightly decreased as there were additional hours that were budgeted that are not needed. Administration salaries for part-time did increase as initially there were no budget, but the board approved the deputy village clerk position. And then legal services decreased 17,000. As right now, the legal assistance for FOIAs have gone down as a need, so that was over budgeted based on the prior year. Police department, the 3 salary line items all go up and down depending on staffing levels of full-time, part-time, and overtime. But I will say the 3 line items themselves all balance to the same as the budget. So neither of them, they will look increase or decrease, but overall, the totals are the same. Medical and dental, outside of the increases, will be under budget as there are vacant positions within the police department that we did budget for. Telecommunications slightly over. There was a need for radio repair contract and portable radios, and then an additional software expense for Tricom dispatch for the Motorola radios. And then specialized supplies, we didn't budget for those 7 additional as the grant we weren't sure on the grant. So those $14,000 is being reimbursed through the grant for the body worn cameras. Economic development, medical and dental was under budget. It was over budget based on that open position that we weren't sure at the time. Public works, full-time salaries can be under budget. There was a vacancy for about a month or 2 in that department. Repair maintenance and for the right-of-way is going to be over budget by about $20,000. There was a lot of emergency tree removal with the storms that we had, and they're continuing to still find them. And then landscaping supplies is going to be over budget by about $44,000. And this is a large demand for parkway tree program and new development trees being planted. So as you can see, we budgeted $30,000 for them. The spring was $27,681, and the fall plantings were $36,890, totaling $64,571.
Is that offset, is that part of the 50/50?
Part of it is offset. Some of it, most of it should be offset, but there are some that we're replacing as well. And then new development, they would be paid with the permit. The hard part with that one is just timing. So some of these permits may have been purchased last year, but we didn't actually plant until the spring. So there's an overlap on those. Community development. Again, we talked about this as being under budget by the $77,000 due to the vacancy of the planning and zoning administrator and the change in the community development director, and then also engineering services by the $100,000, which has an offsetting revenue account. And then other professional will be over by about $20,000 due to some additional expenses for the Crown annexation application and process, but these were all reimbursed as a developer, so there's an offsetting revenue. And then boards and commissions for public relations account will be under about 4,000, not utilizing all the money in the community enhancement committee budget, and the lobbyist was not hired 6 months, which is what it was budgeted for, so that was reduced. Any questions?
No, thank you for the breakdown.
So as we do in the past, we look at what we think we can do with the surplus funds, and the board has their input on these items. So as we discussed it, there is a surplus of $281,000, but above our 25% fund balance policy is about $323,000. While we discussed this back when we were doing the budget, we did cut items from the budget to address the grocery tax. So the items that were removed are listed here. So the first one is in IT services, the iPads for the board. We did cut back on the number of agenda packets that have been being printed to help with that, but we're open to how the board feels on that with that item. So as we go through, we can either discuss them individually or come back to them.
Let's talk about the iPads real quick. Does the board like their paper packet? I mean, it was talked about that we would save on the paper and have iPads, but then the discussion is, do the iPads stay in the room so you're not taking them home and forgetting the iPad and it's used for your packet? Do you want to continue with paper? It's really up to you.
How much do we spend on paper?
So it really depends on the packet size, and we've cut down. We used to print 15 packets, now we print 9, and staff have laptops that they can bring with them. They should be looking up theirs on their laptop, or if they have their few agenda items, they can print that out. So we print a minimal number of packets, so that we've already reduced that cost by 40%. And the ROI on the iPads is, I've run it in the past, not for us specifically, but whenever I've run it, it's like almost like 3-4 years to break even. But we've got a good printing contract with our copier, and we buy paper in bulk, and so it would take quite a bit of time to get to that $2,500. It's more of if the board would prefer to have that, that'd be the case. I know that we would almost have to encourage you to leave them here, because if you forgot your iPad at home, then you wouldn't have a packet, which would make the meeting incredibly difficult. So it's a hit or miss. It's really your preference. If you'd rather have an iPad and that's how you prefer to work, we're happy to do it. But the ROI, it's not a huge cost savings, especially because we cut back on printing the packets for department heads and some of the other folks.
If it's not a big cost savings, then I prefer paper personally, because I just print the stuff out at home anyway. A lot of times, and do that. If we did do the iPads, I would say it would have to stay there. It's not our personal iPads, it's the village's iPads that would be here, but I don't see using that because that has to be updated. Whereas printing, after a certain amount of time, it's not unlimited,
I'm seeing Trustee White shake his head, doesn't matter, doesn't need it. Trustee
Paper.
Michaels, paper's fine. I prefer paper.
Yeah, I prefer not to spend money on
Oh,
it.
yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Next.
That's needed.
All right, next would be economic development. We cut the CEPA program expense from the 50,000 down to 20, so $30,000 was cut. Currently, there are no discussions or applications in the works. We currently still have 20,000. I know that's 20, but there was a discussion on 214 Main Street, so there is still additional 10,000, but there is currently no discussions about that. So Michael felt comfortable leaving that alone and not adding that back in. So that is
Perfect.
open.
If it's not needed and he's not working on any active projects and what we have is enough at the moment, then let's leave it out.
All right, next boards and commissions, few items, additional Sugar Grove banners and American flags and light poles of 15,000. Staff is not recommending any of that back since we're in the middle of winter, that we will just discuss that during the budget process of next year.
Sounds reasonable.
Skills.
Yeah.
All right, Community Enhancement Committee, we initially cut 5,000 from it, from the 10 down to 5, and like I said, we already cut back on that during the projections even, so we do not recommend adding the additional 5 back in. since there's not anything
The pressing need.
pressing,
Correct.
discussing, and then we still have the $2,000 that are still in the budget.
Okay, perfect.
Marketing, $5,000 was cut with Crane Strategies, but the amount that we have already budgeted is sufficient. The monthly average for them is, for Crane Strategies, is about $33.50 per month. So we do not recommend adding back the amount cut because it's not needed.
Great, thank you.
Interfund transfer expense, we cut it from 300 down to 200,000. We do recommend adding that back, just based on the need for capital with the police department upgrades and all of our capital. And then we also will discuss additional funds that are needed to be transferred for capital projects as well.
Are you asking to add it back? Because
Yes,
it-
the 100, we're currently asking to add that back.
Okay, but with the general fund totals at 281,
You're jumping ahead.
no, I'm going backwards, I'm on the same page.
The second page has the discussion of the remaining surplus balance of the 280.
Okay.
So right now, we're
I just was
talking-
wondering if you're leaving a cushion in there, if that's what you're planning on doing, is leaving a cushion, and then when the audit comes, it'll be another large discussion on surplus, because it's,
That's correct.
okay.
As we get to the next page, we'll discuss the remaining surplus balance.
Is everyone good with the transfer of
$100,000
$100,000 to capital projects?
It's just bringing it back to what we
It's
had
bringing it
initially
back.
budgeted.
Yeah, and we cut that number out because of the grocery tax, so they cut it out, but I would add that back, and we've done a great job of building a fund for specifically the police department right now, as that is the imminent need. Anyone?
Yeah, we can transfer more, I think our surplus would be
Yeah.
larger than what.
Yeah, we will,
Yeah, sorry.
a couple more items. we need
Sorry,
to
I didn't mean to jump ahead
yeah. So then we have discussed when we met with all department heads, what they've had that are needs that have come up in the last 6 months since that we didn't budget for. So the first is from the police department. I have a description of what this is, but I'm not great at explaining this, so I'm gonna have Chief kind of discuss what the auto tagging software is.
You're up.
Thank you, Matt. So, every time we go on a call, we get dispatched through, like, it generates a CAT ticket, incident number, it's generated the type of call that we're going on to, and a time stamp. So, our response is now, with anytime we have any police activity, engaging with the public, we turn our body cameras on those. Currently, the officers, when they're get back, after they finish their call, they have to go in there, they have to tag it, hey, this was a shoplifting, a domestic, it was, they have to put a report number. It takes about 3 minutes to fill out the screen, so it's just downtime, it's an efficiency issue. It also potentially causes, if you put the wrong case number that's associated with those videos, if it gets sent to the wrong location, it will potentially be deleted. With auto tagging, there's a software program through Axon that integrates with our dispatch center. It automatically pushes all the information so the officers don't have to go in and fill in those fields. So it's $6,000 to do that. Most of the communities that have that Axon program through Tripod already, we probably will be the last one to do the to migrate to auto tagging.
And how does it integrate with the county? Does it integrate with the county? Is it easier for somebody else to pull the report once it's tagged?
Yeah, so this is just us, so right now raw data, all the files get dumped into the cloud, and we have to categorize each video that they go on, all the in-car camera systems, the front camera, the back camera, the body cams, and then we have to assign a case number to it. So it gets uploaded into our cloud database. If it becomes a criminal case, the county will send us, the state's attorney's office will send us, we need everything for this case. And it's easier for us to pull officers on. We don't have to go in and create a case. They can, it uploads. We have an integration with the state's attorney who also is on Axon, and it's seamless. So there's a couple of, the sheriff's office And Batavia are using a different product other than Axon, so they're utilizing the system to upload into evidence.com to the state's attorney, but not, it's not fully integrated.
So less staff time.
Less staff time for the officers are out there more efficiently and hopefully less errors when videos are not disappearing, because there's a state law that it has to be deleted after 90 days if it's not tagged for certain offenses. This will hopefully prevent that from happening.
Okay. Trustee Barner, do you have any opinions?
It's needed, sure.
Okay. It seems like a reasonable request, and it helps with staff time and more efficiency, so does the board support that $6,000 expense?
And all of these that you are approving will come back if they need approval with the actual quotes.
Okay, so right now it sounds like you have supported that from the board.
Okay.
What about, Chief, you talked before about the license plate readers, and we had some in temporary locations, and then we also got some permanent locations. Did we have to return those other ones, or are we able to still get those?
Just a little bit of a reminder, we probably 2 years ago or 3 years ago budgeted for 4 cameras in Sugar Grove. All of them were on, 3 out of the 4 were on state routes. The permitting process for us to get permits through our district, through IDOT, has been a little longer than we were hoping for, as well as other municipalities up in District 1. But we didn't want to lose the money we budgeted, so we asked Axon, could you give us cameras that we could utilize in our community? We'll pay for you. And then when the other ones finally get installed, get authorized and get installed by IDOT, they would remove those 4. So we have 4 currently on Sugar Grove roads. Right now, there's 3 of the state routes, 2 of the state routes, and 1 on County Road. Out of the original 4, we have 3 of them that are operational. The 4th one is still it's going through the permit process with IDOT. Once that happens, we anticipate they're going to pull for temporary cameras. We're not paying for it. We're getting 7 cameras right now for the price of 4 on an annual basis. And I believe their initial installation was $13,000, including $10,000 and $2,500 a camera. Those 4, we would hope to continue to utilize it. They've been beneficial. We're going to come back in a couple of months and talk about some of the positives of having a flock camera in our community and the intelligence that we're getting from it, as well as from arrests and traffic. So you're correct. So we could potentially lose those once the last camera gets installed, unless the board says we're okay keeping them. And, we'd have to bring it back, but it's probably $10,000 for those 4 cameras. It's $2,500 a camera. There might be $2,750. I think there was a price increase, but I'm not sure.
Future discussion, because you're saying there's 7.
Well, we're going to be ultimately 4.
We budgeted for, we paid for, approved through budget. But those are waiting on IDOT approval.
Just 1. Once that one goes in, we potentially will lose 4.
Officially have those 4, where they are.
And leaving them in place.
Pardon?
And leaving them in place and just paying for them.
Yeah.
I think, aren't some of them duplicative with the IDOT ones? So 6 might be the best option for us. We're kind of analyzing where the cameras are set up. 8 might not be the best. We were going to look at that. Is that true?
Yes, we have 2 of them that are within 800 feet of each other. One on Duke, one on US 30. And then round up just past the roundabout. So one of those is potentially could go to another location, or we could go down the 7. So, but the other ones are interior roadways, one's by the school.
So you don't want to have them within 800 feet of each other, right?
No,
We can move them a road.
Okay. So you want to support an additional 4
Yes.
at, he's suggesting they're $2,750 a piece.
that is without a vote.
Okay.
I mean, because he's,
I know how she feels about it. I know how she voted the last time.
I
Okay.
think that was a no last time.
Yeah, it was.
I see it firsthand every single day, and the benefits outweigh, hands down outweigh any concerns, really. I mean, we are locating missing children, we're locating people that are wanting to harm themselves or harm other people that would normally take hours sometimes. We're locating things within minutes, just based off of the plate readers. Stolen cars, people that have cars broken into, things that are vandalized, in businesses that are being vandalized. In the middle of the night, these plate readers are picking up the cars leaving, and now we have a suspect where, before we, maybe be able to use like a camera, the CCTV camera, but it might just not have caught somebody quite good enough to charge them. Now this will read the plate and put that person at that location. So I think it's a tool for the community, keeps us safe. I don't know of any privacy issues that have arisen from those plate cameras over the last couple of years. And the court cases, I haven't read any court cases or seen any. Have you come up with any of that? And the checks and balance system through those plate readers are pretty strong. So I'm also in favor of keeping those in town.
I like the efforts that have been made by the board to keep the community safer and what we've done with the police department on so many levels. So I agree with you. I know how you feel. Do you want to add any more comments, or do you want me to ask Trustee Michaels his thoughts on that?
I didn't ask, I mean, if it comes up for a vote, I'll have my court
You'll have your
cases.
moment.
I just see a presentation, a request for it. You're so.
Yeah, we're not talking about spending money yet, just
Right.
Put it in
making sure
there.
that we have allocated.
So just for clarification for Matt, Chief, and I will add the amount for the extra 4 readers in as a potential budgetary item. Chief will let Axon know, don't pull these when we get the other ones, and we may want to move 2 of them, so we don't accidentally have to get a reinstall fee again. So we'll contact them right away to say that it is in budget, and then when the time comes, when we get the 4th one done, we'll bring back a proposal.
Yes. Is it possible that this actually happens in the new budget after May, or do you feel like this is imminent?
No, this is imminent.
Okay.
So the 4th one, I just sent another support letter to IDOT and I think they're moving pretty quickly.
Okay.
Quicker now. There's thousands heading to Illinois with the block cameras. So they're inundated up in the Chicagoland area for permitting these cameras in the system. So,
Okay.
so yes, it's
I know we're discussing it now, I'm gonna ask, if it is imminent, that you earmark the dollars, create the presentation, bring it back, or bring it back under general business, so that if that's the case, the board has the ability to vote. Okay, thank you. Public Works.
Yeah, and so just to clarify, if we do earmark the dollars and they're not spent for whatever reason,
Right.
it'll be discussed during the audit process.
Thank you.
So Public Works, this has been brought up actually through our executive safety committee that we hold with all departments. Currently, the Public Works crews and trucks do not have AEDs within the trucks. And with discussions with Brad, he's requesting 4 for each crew that they can take whenever they're out there. So that's the cost, is $3,200 total, split between the 2 funds.
So this is something, having taken first aid multiple times as Girl Scout leader, is there a way we can get this to them like ASAP? This is life safety, this is
Yeah.
serious, they need to have these, I'm surprised they don't, and I would like to get these in those trucks as soon as possible.
All you have to do is
Isn't
say
this,
yes.
Yeah, isn't this within your budgetary
Your spend.
discretion?
It's close.
It's on budget.
We buy it one at a time,
It's
yeah.
unbudgeted, so that's why it's here, but if the village board all agrees that it's part of the surplus dollars that are used.
Well, I think if Heidi wants cameras.
Maybe want to run, are you running them through the training ourselves, or do we have to pay for an outside company to come and train?
We have certified.
Okay. All right.
Our recently has been talking about just communications with residents and bringing back the newsletter or mailer back to all residents. So we're putting in roughly 4,500. This is to cover any type of printing that we anticipate needing if it's sent out and we're not printing them in-house, and then also the actual postage. So that was added if the board would want to do this. I believe Scott said maybe like once in this fiscal year, and then we'll talk about it during the budget for next year of how we want to address it moving forward as well.
I think it's imperative that we do something like this. I was just at a Holiday in the Grove meeting. Resident had our supplemental piece in our water bill newsletter, and another resident said, I never saw that. I'm like, are you getting digital? How is it coming to you? And so it was news to them. And maybe there's a better way to even put the supplemental piece that we put on the water bill on our website as well, so that somebody can find it. But I think, and I think you absolutely test market this and see how it goes and what the feedback looks like. I know that Trustee Michaels did ask about cost sharing, but again, the township, and I think one of the staff, we talked about this too, the township boundaries are significantly different than the village boundaries. And when you're cost sharing, theirs are much larger than ours. And so we're asking them.
Is it really that much more?
Yeah, it's significantly, the township boundaries are significantly larger than ours. They have a lot of ag, but they do cover, they go all the way out to Densmore, or in Deer Path. That's all Sugar Grove Township.
I think the budget's too low. I think 4,500 barely covered the postage because you're 55 or 60 cents unless we can get a bulk rate. But
we do get bulk rate.
Yeah, but I don't know how much savings that is. And even though we were mailing to roughly 15,000 residents, our share was less than the postage by splitting it with the multiple taxing items. So there was a benefit splitting it. I don't know how, how involved we want to get, but doing something I think is the right thing, whether it's something like this community newsletter or doing something like EEI does. But I'd look at the budget. I think 4,500.
So the thought was to do a foldable like EEI, and I believe the postage is more of a post. We can get there's ways to get foldables that would cost the postcard fee, not the traditional mailing fee. So we're looking at our different options. If we end up doing a traditional letter and an envelope, then we would coordinate with the other taxing bodies potentially, because then we could stuff additional ones in there. But if we do the foldable one with the lower postage cost, then it would be restricted like the EEI one. So we're looking at all options, including potentially the other taxing bodies. So it's that's what we think this number is good, because if we would only do it ourselves if we could have the lower mailing fee. So is
this a cost sharing number?
This is a number as if we did it as a postcard. It's like a foldable
which is
one page, like EEIs. You get a lower postage rate. It's not the same as a typical letter. So that's where we kind of drove the cost from. If we do a traditional letter length, then we would do a cost sharing potentially, because it'd be cheaper to just stuff in a couple extra pages from Park District and then to get cost sharing from them.
Are you thinking, Sean, we should increase the amount?
Yeah, to be safe. I mean, and not that it's going to vary too much, but I just think 45, by the time you get somebody to design it, lay it out, print it, and mail it, it's going to be more.
At 55?
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah,
yes.
and if you looked into it and this is a good number, it's fine, but
Yeah.
I just think it's.
Doesn't mean we have to spend it. I mean,
Right.
we just want to allocate it.
Absolutely.
And there's going to be extra money. I think the projections are low for our surplus, so I think we'll be okay. Even if it comes in.
We'll go to 7,500 and just leave it,
Okay.
and if we need it, we'll use it.
Okay. Okay, lastly.
And then the last item is then what we discussed, the additional outside of all that. I think instead of the 90%, we'll cut that down to the 80%, which is what we normally have done. I did increase it, but with the addition of potentially the license plate readers and increasing this, I'll cut that down to 80% of whatever is remaining to leave that cushion as well.
Okay.
So, if the board's okay with that.
Yes, I think so.
And then ongoing future budget options, we don't anticipate looking at those until the budget time.
Okay.
So that's general fund. Are there any questions regarding general fund?
No, thank you for all the detail, appreciate that.
General capital projects, revenues will be slightly higher, well, higher than budgeted based on transfers and capital fees coming in. Expenses came in under budget because we did budget for police department, which we know is not happening this fiscal year for construction, so that'll be moved to next year. TIF 1 revenues are above budget by $42,000 with interest coming in higher, and also the increment has increased over the prior year. The expenses are going to be over budget, as well as the board did approve doing West Wheeler Road repaving, so that was not a budget item, so that is increasing that. And then that TIF is set to expire 12/31/24. Everyone has been notified, county has been notified. We will collect taxes next year, but surplus. TIF 2, again, revenues are slightly higher, TAVs have increased in interest income, and expenses are to be within budget. Capital infrastructure, so we are projecting a deficit in this year. Now this one is our road infrastructure, so that incorporates anything that we have grant matches for. That's the majority of these items. That was a budgeted deficit of 825. Non-home rule sales tax did slightly slow with inflation coming back down. And then engineering did increase as the board did approve Wheeler Road and Merrill Road engineering to try to move us up within the STP program. So there are a couple items to discuss that the board wants to, or that we would like to have discussed with the board now, or just push it until the budget time. One is continuing the other portion of Wheeler Road. So from Esker to Division. These are both BAT and STP for Dugan. So this is trying to do that same process of Wheeler and Merrill to increase our chances to get money from KCOM because they have additional funds available. So this is us doing phase 1 and 2 engineering to push us up in that list. So those are two items that Brad has brought to help us get grant funding. Now that can happen now, or if the board wants to, we can hold until the next month. Now, I will say these two are not in the plan, in that 5-year road program plan.
Okay.
We can put them in, but they are currently not right now.
It is my understanding as well, the reason that we were able to capture some STP is because funds are not utilized, projects are not prepared through engineering ready for funding. So by moving this up, knowing that those dollars are usually available because other municipalities can't take advantage.
That's correct.
It pushes
So
them
I will
back.
say when we started the 5-year road program back in 22, we had 8 projects. Well, actually, we only had 6 projects in the STP program. We only anticipated getting 2 of them. If we do this and push this, this will get us 8. By just pushing ourselves and saying we're doing phase 1 and phase 2 engineering, has been able to do that. Last time when we did the Wheeler and Merrill Road, they approved it within the next month. Once we kind of let them know. Now this is, yeah, I can add this to the road program to kind of flow that out to make sure.
Yeah.
But with those funds, I think we are still able to fund those.
It's a great opportunity to take advantage of grants. Discussion?
I think Matt does a great job in giving us grants for it. It just makes them appear in thin air, I think, sometimes.
This is a attributed, the STP is really Brad and
Oh,
Brian,
Brad,
Brad
yeah.
and Brian, and they attend the KCOM meetings, and they sit and know when opportunities are available, and making sure that the village has its best foot forward to be able to
Yeah.
capture those dollars.
Make
So-
sure I agree with that, because that's gonna save us a minute.
We can't give Matt the credit for everything.
No.
Yeah.
I would do
That's Brad and Brian.
That is-
What, and to be fair, the board's been aggressive with the engineering, the phase 1 and phase 2, which puts us in a position that other communities aren't in to get the KCOM money. So that's, you know, very important.
I agree.
Everybody good with that? Perfect.
All right, the next item that was discussed is Brad requested from the EEI to get a cost estimate of what an ADA self-evaluation might rebranding cost. So we start looking at that village-wide. He anticipated it actually being about triple that account, that much. So when he got that amount, he wanted to bring it up during 6 months. About looking at it at village-wide rather than just when we're doing projects in those areas, looking at it to see where we're at for ADA.
Don't we have to have this evaluation plan? Isn't there a requirement to have this plan? No?
That's a great question.
That's correct.
I will say
I'm not
that
gonna step in on it.
Okay.
doing this will put us in better position for KCOM and CMAP funds. If we have this done and we have a plan that we're resolving, we can use that to get extra points when we apply for money.
I think ADA is essential. We've had residents here in the past in their wheelchairs complaining about, you know, the fact that they can't get somewhere safely. So if we have the funds to improve the village and put a plan forward, I think we should be doing that.
I like doing the ADA when we're doing the local road program, you know.
Yeah, so what this would do is just give us an overall where we're at as a village-wide. And we still do it with the local road. We'll do all of the needed in that area. I think this is to look at it as the village as a whole. So when we're doing like sidewalk programs, we are having a better ability to get grants because we have this plan. We're trying to follow a plan.
Okay.
So we will still be doing them all during the local, but this will give us a better idea as a village.
Is this, the ADA self-evaluation plan, is that just for basically roads and sidewalks, or does that?
I don't think it's gonna be building, but
I didn't know. if it
I
was
believe
gonna
it's
be
just road and sidewalks.
Just roads and sidewalks, okay.
Consensus?
Yes.
Good, okay.
And then this last one was from Brian mainly, ASC control data. It is $50,000. He gave me this description of what it is, and it's essentially control points for developments and where the land is, and it shows you all the elevations so that you know where they're at when developments are coming in. So this one got kind of thrown in. I don't know. I don't know the urgency. I don't know the urgency based on the other three compared to this one. I know he said it does help when developments do come in, so it is something he will probably be looking for the budget, but just.
I think this warrants a presentation.
Yeah. Do we need it?
Right. Right.
Tell them you tried to sell it real hard.
I'll never blame it on Brian. Yeah.
Right.
Brian wasn't there to defend. All right. those
Oh,
are the
Brian,
items.
here's that piece of-
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll just move it to 26.
Probably a good idea. Okay. Sugar Grove Center.
So this one, again, we're just in the weed control and grass cutting. There's some stuff that's gonna be coming, we do every 3 years. So that's why that levy is the 10 to 12.5. But that'll be happening. College Corner Business District, there's nothing happening, it's just sales tax and rebates. Water fund. So revenues are expected to be above budget by about 38,000 roughly. Again, now that we have the new system and meters, usage we're seeing the increase mainly in new homes. It's pretty static. IT will be under budget. It's a direct correlation to the general fund, those are split, so we decrease an additional monthly hours needed. Administration, so transfer to equipment replacement will be over budget, $30,000, and that's an increased cost of replacement trucks in the fiscal year. I don't know if you remember back 2 years ago now, we had to purchase that truck that we had budgeted for about $210,000 and it went up to $350,000. So that cost increase, and we just purchased the second half of that because we had to purchase the actual truck that was ready and then wait for the equipment. So that's why we now are fully depreciating that total truck. Transferred infrastructure replacement, so it's going to be under budget this year. This doesn't affect the ability to do any future projects based on our CIP. There was an increase this year from 700,000 to 1.1 million. So it's actually going to be roughly about 875,000 that is going to be that year. Again, this doesn't affect the CIP long-term of funding water projects. as this was already an increase over the initial 700,000 that we normally were doing. Water operations, other professional will be under budget, census fee hosting came under, and then the agreement with the Sugar Grove Water Authority did expire. Electricity, there was a delay in billing from the budgeting time that caused us to go over the budget, and we also did budget the solar field as a full year based on that. So that will be over budget. Water capital, this one is the replacement of that vehicle that took 2 different fiscal years to pay off. So that does affect our expenses, and that threw off the budget as a whole, causing that reduction for the infrastructure as well, because we did not anticipate paying that over 2 years. So while we had the funds for it in the account, it was over 2 years, so it affects 2 budgets. So that money, when we transferred it 2 years ago, I want to say disappeared, but it went into the fund balance, which doesn't help you in a future budget year.
Can you go back to B and talk about the review of the account shows there was a significant delay in billing for some of the accounts?
The billing for the wells and lift stations are done through a third-party aggregation. And what we have noticed is we'll get bills some months, and then some months they are delayed 2 to 3. We actually just got a June bill for one of them. So when we were budgeting, it looked like we were budgeting at a lower number, and then all of a sudden we received all of these adjustments based on usages, because we were getting billed for the locations, but the usages were low. So we budgeted off that, and then we got a correction invoice that happened at the beginning of this year. So all of the usages are higher for our wells than we anticipated, along with the solar coming out. So the solar will still have an effect on that, but not fully. But that's what that is. We started noticing that the electrical billers are either extremely far behind or they bill you ahead of time. NICOR bills you ahead, electric, all of it will bill you in arrears for months. So it is not a consistent, I wish I would be able to go in and say that this is how much we pay every month, but we don't, because of the billing.
Are you able to get an average and then use that average on a monthly basis?
So we try to look up at that over the years, but with that contract specifically changed last year. So I could have gone back and looked at every bill to look at kilowatts and balance that out based on our new rates. But that contract expired with the municipal aggregation. So we also had a new contract with a new biller, so that also caused that delay as well.
But for budgeting purposes going forward?
We'll be good, because this is I believe a 3-year contract. So the water fund is, again, it's going to still have a surplus with that adjustment on the infrastructure. Is there any other questions on water fund? Water capital, this is really just in and out. We are funding the infrastructure costs for Dune Woods water main. That's kind of at the end of the project life for that. 47 utilities relocation, we're currently paying for the engineering, which is $188,000. Well 9 maintenance. These are all the budgeted well 9 maintenance, the solar field installation, and then well 9 water treatment plant maintenance. However, as we discussed, Brad brought back that well 11 now has the issues, so that's the one that we have now flipped with well 9. Cost has not changed on there because we are unaware of the cost at the time, but we just flipped which well is in the CIP. And then expenditures with the solar field, which we are getting refunded by or incentives on that. But we have fully paid out the solar field now, so we can apply for the tax incentives now for calendar year 24. So that will be something that we'll be bringing back to the board based on discussions, is having a tax accountant or tax attorney do that tax return for us, since governments never do federal tax returns. And that's the recommendation from the solar company, was most communities are having, it's a one-time fee, you only do it 1 year, and you get the incentive. And we are actually qualified for more than the 30% we initially thought. We were qualified for 40%. So we'll be getting 10% more on our program. So roughly estimated about a $417,000 tax incentive back on that solar field, hopefully sometime early in 24. So that will be working. I actually have a meeting with some auditors at the end of this week to start seeing if that's out there, who does them, who has experience in them, to get some quotes and costs back to bring in front of the board to get that process moving forward.
Excellent, thank you, Matt.
And then the last one is refuse money, which is a slight surplus, but that just keeps our reserves.
Perfect. Any questions for Matt? Thank you. Salaries and wages, COLA.
So as we have in the last years, we changed when we do our performance evaluations, which will be done by the end of December, but we also, as of yesterday, have started our budget process for 25-26. So to better estimate our cost without having any guesses in there, we have discussed this at the end of the calendar years for what the anticipated, what the board's consensus for a COLA for the next fiscal year would be. So as you remember, in 22-23, we did the full salary plan update, which we will do every 3 years with the union contract update negotiations. Currently, the patrol and sergeants are in their second year of contract, so 25-26, which is what we're discussing today, will be their final year of contract, which they're set at 4%. So we'll be back to negotiations, but we'll also, again, next year be doing the whole salary survey. Hopefully less extensive because it's more of an update rather than a complete start from scratch. So we'll be doing that prior to going into negotiations, so when we have an idea. So that will be happening, but they will be in their final year with the 25-26 fiscal year, and they're at 4%. So I actually see there's for 23-24, there was the 4% for non-union, and then they were placed in their respective levels for the non-unions based on that salary schedule. 24-25 union contracts did receive 4. The board last year approved 3 for non-union. So just some data that we kind of have used in the past. CPI for December of 23, which is utilized for PTEL for the tax levy, was 3.4. The most recent CPI data for October of 24 is 2.6. And then there's some articles. Compensation is up 3.9% for September to September. Social Security is expected for 2.5 in 2025. And then the CPIU for Chicago, Naperville, Belgium was 3.5 for October to October compared to 2.4 for last year. So then in the past we viewed it as we did the same. Last year's average was 4, the non-union got the 3. Based on that, with the union contracts, staff is recommending the 4. Again, open for board discussion in that cost section. It does give the ranges of what each percentage would cost. And that does include patrol sergeants, non-union department heads based on COLA. So as you can see, if it's a 0, we still owe it because of patrol and sergeants with their steps.
But the 4% represents the entire village, as you said, with department heads.
With department heads, with non-union and patrol and sergeants. So even at a 0%, because some of the steps that are in there, even at a 0, people will be making steps through whether they're patrol sergeants or non-union within their classification.
And is it possible, I don't know if it's possible, for you to break out department heads from that overall number?
Yes.
So that we can see what 4% is for one, the contracts that we have, union contracts that are out there, but that also keeping our public works employees who are non-unionized in line with other, unionized contracts that we have. So just pulling out department heads in that number for a minute, if you could break that out, and you could see what that looks like. I think it's important to keep our public works employees in line for,
Yeah, so in total for all department heads at 4%, total cost is 35,000. General fund will be 28, and water fund is 69 roughly.
And that's what the department has.
That's the department head's
It's
4%.
35, I'm sorry,
35 in total.
in total.
It's 28 in the general fund. Water fund is 69.
And that's coming off the 222.
Of the, yes, so that would bring that back down, and then
Discussion, thoughts?
it's about 187 total for all the remaining,
When you say 187?
for the total remaining at 4%.
Any discussion from the board?
I'd go with the 3.5%, that's equal to the Chicago Naperville Elgin increase from 23 to 24, 4%, I think. A little high at this time.
Okay, I totally understand where you're coming from. I think there's greater concerns just on whether it happens or not, but the idea that you've been operating a public works department that has not been unionized. Okay. Thoughts?
I would like to offer, if the board doesn't agree with 4%, that they consider the department heads being at perhaps 3%, if that's the rate you're worried about compounding too fast, and then all other employees outside of the unions, including support staff, and other employees who are the hardest hit by inflation, as everybody knows, price of bread and everything going up. I'd like to see those employees get the 4%. The department heads, I totally understand with us compounding at a higher rate, myself included. If you could do them perhaps at 3 and everybody else at 4, I would much prefer that as the administrator than seeing 3.5 for all employees, including department heads.
Okay with that.
It's a pretty noble thing to do for you. It's,
What is this, the 35% Matt is at, so what is the, am I just taking a percentage off that?
nice thing.
26.
Thank you. So the total number then would be 187 and 26,
Yeah. So 213.
213 is what I get. Versus, so we just saved roughly $10,000. Everyone's good with that as a working number as he goes through budget.
What do we decide on for?
4 for all employees and 3 for department heads.
Yeah, I'm all right with that.
Yeah, I don't see the need to differentiate it. I stand by my earlier comment, but appreciate what you're offering. Thanks, Sean.
Did we get a breakdown like we did last time over what that compound costs us throughout each division? Did we do that?
Can we do this, Matt? Just so you have a working number as you come, I'm going to, yes, we need that. I think it's important as the board goes through it too, that they see the step, the compensation plan that we put together. As a working number, if you can use the 213 for budget purposes, but let the staff go in and they see, as they do every single year, compensation where it stands and where we are in the flow chart for employees. I think that's helpful in the discussion. So I don't want to hold anybody to anything. I want you to work off that number, but then bring that back to the board.
I mean, I can bring it back next meeting.
Perfect.
I can just bring it back as a second discussion.
Perfect.
It's just we wanted to start the discussion because January will be more in the start point. So I'll bring that back with breakdown of positions with steps.
Perfect. Appreciate that. So larger discussion next meeting. Anything further on this item? Okay. We are at staff reports, are we not? Yes, we are at staff reports. Scott.
Yep, in your packets, I can skip ahead a little bit. Chief's item was duplicated. We're
That's right.
it's both in the discussion section and in the general business section, so I apologize for the takeaways there.
So appreciate the explanation.
But better 2 than 0. For administration, you'll note in there that I didn't mention Comcast and Metronet. From the last meeting, those are still being discussed and negotiated, and the information will be brought back soon. It was tough with the Thanksgiving turnaround to get information back from them to have it ready for tonight. Also, I want to address Maddie a little bit tonight and say thank you. She's doing a great job filling in for Tracy, who is out this week on a well-deserved vacation. We're very glad to have Maddie on the team, and she's doing an excellent job on running the meeting, so I want to say thank you.
Thank you.
It's not a Metro, they're just stopping the
TV.
the streaming part, right? They're not-
Cable,
TV.
yeah, TV.
Well, they're not getting rid of their.
Just
high
TV.
speed.
Sorry, you weren't here, Jake, last
I
week. I
wasn't, that's what I'm
apologize.
asking.
So they've come to us and all communities, surrounding communities, and they want to get out, they're going to get out of the TV game
Right.
this month. And then because of our franchise agreement, they are offering us a settlement in the agreement, and then we get a certain amount of money. They're also willing to train anybody that needs help as far as getting streaming set up, whether it be YouTube TV, Hulu, some type of streaming, so that they can still have TV as an option for people. So that's where they've offered us that settlement. I got direction for the board at the last meeting to go back and try to get a better amount or get a credit towards our bill going in the future at a higher amount, which might be beneficial for both parties. And that's what we're working on right now with them. I also sent Laura's comments on the separation agreement to them to get approval.
Okay, so they're still going to provide the internet. service.
Correct. That's not, they're not leaving. They're just, they want to stop doing
Keep the
TV.
same,
And
all that stuff.
Comcast was here at our last meeting as well, and they want to come in and do residential, because remember, we approved the Comcast
For
for
the
commercial,
business
the business district, and now they want to come in and do residential.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, I'm sorry. Did you have anything further?
No, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Any questions for staff? Thank you. Matt?
Nothing extra.
I appreciate on the board report the time that you spent, attending and running that conference as a conference organizer. I always like to see our folks lead and chair organizations that they're part of and representing our village, so. I know it wasn't easy, but
No,
thank you.
and I then volunteered myself. The national organization is doing a conjunction conference is with Illinois' affiliate, so I'm on that committee for that. It's in Oakbrook next year, but yeah, the national committee is going to be here.
Awesome. Thank you. It's a lot of extra work, so. Danny,
Nothing to add.
anyone have any questions for Danny? Maybe this is a combination of Starbucks, permit ready to be issued, waiting on Starbucks.
It's in their hands.
So when it says waiting on
No,
Starbucks,
we're waiting on,
for them to pick it up?
let's make a move. Yeah, well, we're waiting on them to provide like their, the bond that we require as
Okay.
part of the permit, and we also, they haven't submitted to Fox Metro yet,
Okay,
so we're just waiting on them.
okay. Okay, thank you. Chief Ramos? Any questions for Chief?
Deputy chief position working out well for us?
Yes, it is. Smile on my face.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I did see him, I think it was, I don't know if I reported that to the board, but there was a discussion, I don't know if I talked to Ramon about it separately, if it was here in the boardroom. We talked about the flow of traffic at Carter in the morning and directing traffic, and how good Ramon is at it. And he went when one of the officers, was working, and he taught them how to move traffic along more efficiently. So he's definitely working with the staff and working well, and already had a good working relationship with them all. So it's good to see him being hands-on with the department. Okay, thank you, Pat. Brad is not here this evening. Okay, Michael.
I've done most of the follow-up now with the guests we had at the broker's reception. The reaction has been very good. A number of meetings have already been held as follow-up, especially with the big brokerage firms that were represented, JLL, CBRE, Cushman, Global Banker, and others. result is that a lot of larger firms are now really paying attention to this. Secondly, we're doing a briefing on the broker's reception tomorrow at Rich Harvest Farms, and we'll start planning for next year. So this is going to be an annual event that they're going to host.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Any questions for Michael? Hearing none. Board reports, trustee reports, trustee Michael.
Nothing.
Yeah. Trustee Lundy.
I will be attending the library board meeting on the 18th. I do know Holiday in the Grove is coming up. They will be having, the library will have the Kingland High School master's will be coming on the 7th at the library, and there will also the Kingland Arts Initiative will be presenting a Christmas Council presentation as well at the library. So there's going to be a lot of stuff at the library to do as well. And I believe December 6th is the last day for the holiday spirit giving tree at the library.
What day is that? The 6th?
The last day for the holiday spirit giving tree is under the 6th.
Okay. Which is Friday.
Yep.
Thank you. Trustee Bonnie.
Nothing to add.
Trustee White. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Welcome. President report. I just want to reiterate the holiday of the Grove. So Friday this week, we do have the tree lighting at Crossing 47. Santa does arrive by fire truck. It's going to be cold. We will have luminaries lit after the tree lighting ceremony. It will be a nice welcoming walk back to the community building for hot chocolate and cookies that evening. And then Kiwanis on Saturday hosts the pancake breakfast with Santa. A lot of activities happening in the village in general on Saturday. So you have, of course, the Kiwanis breakfast. There's still room available. You can book your things online, your breakfast online. It goes to a great cause. Kiwanis is out there supporting our children in the community. The library on the same day, Heidi did mention the events that are happening at the library. And then also at the Methodist Church across the street on Main, they will be having a market in the church, and then the Historical Society does guided tours on the carriage rides. So, and obviously our police force is out there helping on Saturday evening. Public Works is out helping light the wreaths on that night as well. So it's a really nice event. It will be cold, dress warm. There are other things happening. I know that there is also on Saturday, kind of another market in the afternoon at Harder Middle School. There's an event, another market happening at the golf course in the Pine Room. I know that, I don't want to miss anyone, but I think Burke Barrel had a Santa's breakfast as well. But this is a good community event here with Kiwanis, face painting for the kids, games, cake walk. I know I've seen you all there with your kids. It's a good opportunity for them to see Santa as well. So that's all I had. I hope everybody had a nice Thanksgiving, and I'm looking forward to the upcoming holiday, and we will see you next board meeting. So tonight, our motion to adjourn.
Make that. Second.
Okay, and the first on Trustee Bonnie, and the second on Trustee Michael. It's going to be roll call. Trustee Bonnie. Trustee Michaels.
Aye.
Trustee White.
Aye.
Trustee Lundy.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries.
I didn't see it.
Aye.